All right, Will's here.
All right, so real quick before we drag Will in. So then we're going to go into the manifesto. We got a bunch of other little news stories to do. We get to see the shit show of the new Angie just posted this Twitter thread, and I was like, holy shit, we have to watch this. The new secretary of the press, or press secretary, sorry. Couple other little clips, and then we'll round out the night with some wild shit, boys. Like, who knows what'll be there. You'll just have to be here, you know, after midnight. But yeah, we can bring Will in.
Oh, I'm here.
You're what? Whoa, and you're gone. Did you do something, or did he do something?
No, I don't ever kick people out during live streams.
Join. There you go.
Welcome back. Klepto-Bismol, again, this is not an open panel. I don't do open panels. Your insistence to always be on open panels that don't exist is weird. I love you, kid. I love you, kid. But no.
Boom.
Klepto-Bismol is a bitch. Well, there's a lot of bitches. There's a lot of hoes. And a lot of area codes. You know, and but that's okay. They can exist. And sometimes, you know, your hate watchers should be good. Your lovable watchers should be good. Just because somebody's a bitch doesn't mean a goddamn thing, Eagle. You could be a bitch for all I know. And you know what? I would love you just the same. I love people. I love life. And if I didn't want to talk to bitches and crazy people as a means of advocating my ideas, I would have gone to a platform other than fucking Twitch. How's it going, Will?
True. Our platform is filled with really crazy people for the most part.
So do you do
Hard
Twitch
to find
streams?
those.
I saw you had like YouTube. Do you like live stream on Twitch as well?
I do. I'm in the dual stream gang.
No,
so
you're not supposed to
I'm-
say that. It's technically.
I mean, I don't dual stream.
Yeah, he does not dual stream to both YouTube and Twitch because that would be a violation of his affiliation contract.
I definitely
That
not
totally
just
gets enforced by
on
Twitch
YouTube and
all the
Twitch.
time.
What you drinking there, Scott? You drinking some coffee? What's that?
This is black cold brew, and then this is water, and then this is an unopened monster that will be opened at some point. And that's how I roll. I fucking need a lot of caffeine to get through 7-hour streams.
I could only imagine. You do a 7-hour stream, my dude?
Every
That's
Monday, every Tuesday, every Thursday, and then on weekends when I don't have my kids, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Our only day off is Wednesdays. And this Wednesday, believe it or not, even though it's my day off, just to be nice to Prime Kai's, I'm going to actually be on Prime Kai's for a panel for about 2 hours, chat. But we will not be streaming on Twitch. So if you want to see me debate homeschooling and school vouchers and school choice, then you got to go to Prime Kai's channel.
This isn't a big. This is really funny. This happens to me all the time. Interview with Willa C. Is
Yep.
that because my thing looks like Willa, like Will and? Because I undercase the
No.
and, so it
Here's what's happening. People that have been on Twitch for a long time recognize that when new people are viewing your channel and they're trying to you're trying to get discoverability, you have to tell what you're doing in 36 characters. And Will and his channel and then what you're talking about would take up the entire title, and I wouldn't be able to fit that. Like later we're talking about the manifesto. So people that might want to come in here to talk about the manifesto would never see that. And so people are scrunching your name to Will and then abbreviating the rest so that they can fit in the characters so that they can maintain discoverability of their topics.
The more you know. Okay, good to know. That's a good tip even for my channel.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you get like the juicy stuff in 36 characters.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we just get right into it?
Yeah. I
reason
mean,
why-
you wanted to have the kind of the talk, and you were interested in me
I
kind of
did.
talking shit on Twitter, which I normally don't ever bring Twitter stuff here. But a lot of
good reason.
people were talking about like why I left MrGirl and stuff, and about Twitch politics and shit in general before Dylan started talking about possibly like kind of like separating some from Twitch Paul and the drama and had that panel that was an utter shit show. So yeah, I mean, like however you want to go about it, let's go. Also, this is my co-host, Mark.
Mark.
He's like the shadow speaker or the shadow Hokage. I go out and do a lot of things, and I manage the Twitter, and Mark keeps me sane and does a lot of research sometimes and pays attention to chat and and does serial killer night, which is tomorrow.
Ooh, super fun. I love serial killers and conspiracies and stuff like that. That's right up my alley.
Yeah, it's a good time.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Joseph Callinger.
Ooh, classic.
Last one was Belle Gunnis, and that was the first one we've done where I wasn't just disgusted the entire time. I was like, this is an interesting story.
Belle Gunnis, she's the one that fed her people to the pigs, right?
Yeah. But like the one before that was what was it? The Werewolf of Wisteria. That one, the boogeyman that like molested like
Albert Fish.
Albert Fish. Yeah, that one fucked me up, Chad. Like we did Albert Fish, and I was like, okay, well I'm done for the night.
Literally walked in. I thought I was looking at.
My girlfriend commented that we're all rubbing our beards and our chins at the same time.
Yeah.
That was what she couldn't tell
fun
which one
thing
of
to
us
do.
was which because we're all rubbing our chins like this. I'm sorry, not to totally detract.
That's actually a thing. That's where bored comes from. Bored comes from the word beard, because the idea is when you're bored, you play with your beard. That's what. Yeah.
The more you know.
There you
That's
go.
really cool. Shit, I'm already learning. It's been 3 minutes, and I'm already learning on the Fabio Library show.
That's what we try to promise here.
we try. Hey, Casimir.
Also, I look like a pencil eraser. Like, how's that?
You know what? That is one of the people do come in to insult your alopecia, but that is one of the better ones I've heard. Pencil eraser.
It doesn't really make sense. Like if I was skinny, if I was more narrow, I would get it. But like, that's a pretty broad.
Well, that's just because you have so much depression. You don't realize that you are thin, especially for an American.
I can relate.
But yeah, let's hop into it.
Yeah. So long story short, I'm a self-proclaimed #1 Mr.Girl simp. Not gonna lie, I'm a huge fan of his content in general, and I just thought, and I'm actually a huge fan of your content actually. I enjoy like when you're on the panels, I enjoy having, a voice that's not the same leftoid over and over again, and someone that actually provides kind of interesting, interesting counter arguments, even if I don't necessarily agree with it,
Mm-hmm.
So I see you get on the Stardust thing. Stardust invites you, you're on first, and then all of a sudden Mr.Girl gets in. I mean, and it was just super interesting to me as a viewer, like night and day. You're instantly like, I am not supporting this guy, I'm out. 0% chance I'm on a panel with this dude. Like, see you later. Like, you didn't even argue about it, and you just dipped. Super noble, reasonable. Like, it to me, like as a viewer, I wasn't like, oh, he's clout chasing. Oh, da 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 da. I really felt like, okay, well, someone who really
if I was
believes in the
clout
values-
chasing, I would have debated Destiny and Mr.Girl, because I've debated Destiny a few times, but like, you get a lot of views if you debate those people.
Correct. I mean, my most viewed video is a video analyzing Hans of Harkir and Destiny's drama when that all went down. So I feel that. I'm here for the Destiny views too. But anyways, I just thought that was really interesting. You completely were like, I'm not going to promote this guy, support this guy on my platform. I'm not even going to talk to this guy. Peace. And you dipped. And I thought that was really interesting. And I immediately, after seeing that, tweeted you, I think, or at least saw something maybe that you were a part of. And then
there was a lot of drama that followed that, which was, so like I think it's important to describe maybe to the viewers as well as to your viewers, or I'm sure you're going to put this on YouTube because you usually do a lot of these on YouTube. So just to kind of like give a 1,000-foot view of what occurred up to that point, right?
Would you like to do that?
I'm sorry?
Would you prefer to do that? I don't know if I have the 1,000-foot view.
Yeah, I think I just want to explain before we get into that, like what happened behind the scenes first, right? So I have been on panels with Stardust before, right? A lot of Prime Kais, I think maybe like one Hippy Dippy or something, and Stardust and I did a lot of her early Chaos casts, which are like meme panels about like just obscene things. I think I pretended to be Nick Fuentes in a cake debate about what is a real cake, and I like had on a suit and was Nick Fuentes, and I was trying to describe that like real cake is only made by white Anglo-Saxon wives that are like in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant, and that like, you know, like cake made by men isn't real cake and it's just art. And like, you know, it was, you know, like a lot of fun stuff. But in more than one of those panels and discussions with Stardust, I was like, I have called out people specifically, like when they were talking about like, oh, we don't do drama or anything. I'm like, you fucking talk to MrGirl, like get the fuck out of here. Like you're like, you know what I mean? Like trying to say that you're not here for like the clicks or like the views on some drama and shock content. I do not like that person. Fuck that person. They're gross. Hey, thanks for the sub, Stardust. So I was, at least at the very least, didn't think that it required, but maybe it needed a requirement to like let people know, hey, I'm not doing a panel with this person. There's a couple of people I won't do a panel with. And they're basically 3 people as far as I can tell right now. Queen Alexa, who doesn't do panels, but whom I've openly shown and been a part of, like knowing that this person, in my opinion, is a child groomer. MX Vivian Wolf, because this is someone who's like, I've shown and other people have shown, doxes people and does calls to violence, and supports, you know, violence against other Twitch streamers and helped dox their live information and where their current locations were. And MrGirl, for, you know, all of the reasons I think that most people don't like MrGirl, right? Like I don't think it's any shock that MrGirl's controversial. Whether or not you agree with some of the opinions that people have about them, you can't say that this person isn't controversial.
Right.
So
agreed.
We were invited into the panel, and there's a group panel, right? Like, have you ever done any of these panels before?
A couple, yeah. Nothing too big, but
yeah. But usually there's a Discord group that like you know who's gonna be there, you know when it starts, right? MrGirl's not involved in that at all, right?
Like he wasn't in the group message at all?
Was never in the group message or anything like that. So we go to do the panel. We're missing a couple people, right? And then they're like, oh, they're coming. Just one person couldn't make it. We're going to continue without them. It's fine. So we're hanging out for a half hour and no one talks about the fact that MrGirl's going to show up, right? Nobody says anything about that. We're talking, I'm mostly talking with this guy, Kai, that I never met. Some cozy TV streamer type guy, right? And so that's happening. And then Destiny and MrGirl come in together, like instantaneously. So it wasn't like, and they both came in a half hour late, right? So the panel is out of time. Oh, people are saying they can't hear me at all in your channel.
I know it seems to be now okay. Sorry
okay.
About that.
All right. Well,
my apologies.
God damn it! I'm explaining the entire fucking thing. All right. Thank you, Orange Onomatopoeia.
I'm gonna fix it on YouTube, okay, in post. So at least for the YouTube viewers, it'll be all right.
All right, there you go. Okay, so they both come in a half hour late, and they come in together instantaneously, right? And so to me, you have to understand a couple of things. Number one, I won't talk to this person because I have a lot of reasons why I won't talk to this person we can get into. But two, I'm an ANCAP, right? And one of the attack vectors that people attempt to meme on us constantly about, which is a complete bullshit line of attack that has nothing to do with our philosophy, is that like we're pedos. Because some guy somewhere occasionally argues about the age of consent, right? It's not a thing we really talk about or anything, but if you find some random lefty that hates ANCAPs, the first thing they'll put in the chat, it happens all the time, is like, oh, ANCAPs, oh, you guys are pedophiles. What's the age of consent, pedo? So now we're bringing on MrGirl. We're bringing him on a half hour late. He's a surprise guest that you just didn't decide to tell us about at all in the group chat, and a half hour later. So like immediately like, oh, okay, cool. Stardust hasn't talked to me in a while, and Stardust has been kind of weird, and I've been going hard on her. And then all of a sudden somebody shows up a half hour late. It's like, this is going to be a MrGirl argues about age of consent and pedophilia with a fucking ANCAP, and this is some drama trap bullshit. So like, not only am I like, I don't want to talk to this person, I would have left anyways, but I wouldn't have made a drama about it on stream. I would have just been like, oh, I would prefer not to be on this panel. I'm not talking to this person. But instead they get brought on a half hour late. They're jumped in. And I'm like, oh. And then I kind of went hard on Twitter at a couple people because the very next thing they do is they bring in Last Username, who is the only ANCAP like that does debates in Twitch politics other than me. And so I'm like, oh, so then you bring on another ANCAP that was willing to talk about these things. And then all of the topics are no longer being talked about. Instead, we're talking about Lolly, age of consent, MrGirl showing his sex doll on stream. And it's all the same antics of pedophilia apologia that he engages in while engaging in shock content and normalization that I personally find disgusting. And so I'm like, yeah, fuck all of you people. You tried to set me up. Right? Like you tried to fucking do all of this shit and you knew that if you had told me about this person to begin with, that I wouldn't have spoken to this person because I'd made that aware to you in the past. So that's why I was like raging on Twitter as well as other words. Cause I'm like, fuck you. You tried to fuck with me. Supposedly I talked to Stardust and some of it was some miscommunication and whatnot. I accepted her apology. Like she did prove to me that like bringing in Last Username, he actually DM'd her. So some of what I said might not have been true, but it still feels a little bit disingenuous and a little bit like it was a setup to ignore the debate and cause drama and clicks to get an ANCAP and MrGirl to talk to each other.
Like even if that wasn't the intention, that was just still kind of like optically how you thought it was gonna happen.
Yeah, and I was just like, fuck all these people, I'm out. And then you hit me up and you're like, well, you should talk about it. I'm like, I probably should talk about it with somebody, I guess, maybe. So I figured, I talked to you for a minute. You were willing to come on to our platform so that I know that it wouldn't be like another, like, let's bring someone on. Because it's happened to me several times where, like, I'll go talk to somebody and then they'll bring on somebody to attack me and it's, like, not what we're supposed to do.
You?
Oh, yeah, it happens all the time.
Really?
Yeah, Wick did it. Wick did it. Or a tale of... or what is it, Death of Certainty or whatever. He did it to me with the Professor Meat debate. As soon as Q&A opened up, he like brought Queen Alexa on to like try and talk about like why I'm a pedophile, because I called that person a groomer, because they are, and I showed the evidence.
Well, that makes sense. That's kind of interesting.
Right, so that's why I was like hard on that panel. I was like, yo, go fuck all of you. I'm not talking to this person. I'm not platforming this person. I don't care about the clout. I'm pissed. I'm out.
Fair. The weird thing is that from the Twitch stream that I watched, or I guess the YouTube VOD, right? I didn't really perceive it as like you were, like when I saw you do that, my initial intention, or the way I perceived it, was like you weren't making a bunch of drama out of it. I actually thought very undramatically you kind of left. And then
I try really hard not to do drama, but I was really mad.
No, I feel like it came over to Twitter a little bit. Like maybe that's more where I felt the frustration. You know what I mean?
Like we just started Twitter and like and so this is where it gets into the general toxicity of like Twitch in general, is that like I feel like a lot of, I mean, honestly, I don't have respect for most of these people, if I'm being honest, but I feel like a lot of people use Twitter to drum up drama to then talk about it on stream. It's not even I feel like that. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
Instead of doing content, instead of doing research, instead of, digging into financials of companies so that you can tell a story that no one else is telling, they drum up drama on Twitter, then talk about the drama, and then try and get their viewers to come over to them to look at the drama, then do a panel about the drama, then settle the drama, and then start the next big drama all over again.
Well, I'm very aware of the Dylan Burns pipeline and Prime K's pipeline. I mean, for sure. I'm definitely here consuming an absorbent amount of that content. But in one way, that's one reason why I really like MrGirl, is because he never has panels where he's just like, let's talk about Twitch bullshit. And he's honestly never, he was on a Dylan Burns panel like one time, was like, this is the worst way to have discourse ever, and then never went on one again. Like it's just interesting. It's just interesting to me. I think maybe you guys have more similarities. Like maybe that's kind of what you're really trying to push a back against, is that there are a lot of similarities between you two.
No.
You don't think so at all?
What I'm pushing back against is that the person is a pedophile apologist. There's without a doubt.
I guess let's get into it. Why do you think he's a pedophile apologist?
Well, I think it's very clear that what his stated intentions are, right, is one of empathy and one
Yes.
of understanding that if we want to stop what is designed to be what is a paraphilic disorder, right? That we're going to, by attempting to be so hard and harsh within our culture and within our legal system, what we do is we cause people to hide that to the greatest extent that they're capable of hiding that. And by doing so, from a utilitarian calculus perspective, which right off the bat, I don't believe in that as a form of ethics. I don't even believe that it's a normative ethical framework that is logically consistent. I think consequentialism in and of itself is evil. So that's how radical I am, I guess. But regardless, I recognize that it's a framework most people use, especially almost everyone on the left. And so his argument is, well, what do you want? You want children to stop being, abused, right? Well, if you want that, the logical thing then is to not be so harsh on people that are suffering from a medical condition or a mental health condition, and allow them to come forward, allow them to get the treatment that they so desire, and that, a better legal system and a better mental health system would lead to better outcomes as a whole, right? I don't believe that that's an unfair that's an unfair mischaracterization of Mr. Girl's stated goals, right?
I would say absolutely not. I agree with you on everything you said. I think that is only halfway. I think we're at the top of the hill, but we need to go all the way down the hill now.
Okay.
I think there's more to in here.
Right. The other half of what he does is antics, shot content, and normalization, psychological manipulation and normalization, right? So, right, for example, his I kill pedophiles, right? Like, it's designed to invoke an empathetic response, right? He does things where he pretends to be a pedophile, right? So he tries to pretend to be a pedophile so that you'll hate him, so that he can get views and clicks. And that's like his Cuties film review, right? Where he says, this film was designed to make people sexually attracted to 11-year-olds. And then he talks about how sexually aroused he was and how he needs to watch it again and again and again, right? Like he's trying to invoke some form of feeling, which and then laugh it all off as a joke, as a part of psychologically.
I disagree with that second part.
Well, and
laughing it off as a joke.
Well, then what?
I don't think he does it for laughs at all.
I mean,
I think he's very anti-joke. I think even the framing of it as like he's doing it all as a joke, like there's some kind of irony there. I think he would actually be very anti that. I think he's very anti-irony.
So is he just a pedophile?
Like, I guess
if he's anti-joke, then his Cuties film review just proves him to be a pedophile.
Is the contention so much more like, where he says that this movie does a good job of making you feel sexually attracted to 12-year-olds,
11-year-olds,
and then the part,
but even
11
still,
or whatever, and then he contends that even I felt sexually attracted to 11-year-olds watching this,
and then says that he needs to watch it again and again and again, right? Letting you know that he wants to be sexually aroused. And that he wants to relive that experience where he was sexually aroused by 11-year-olds. If it's a joke, it's a sick joke, but I mean, dark humor exists. I'm not going to argue that like it should be censored or anything. But I will argue that I'm not going to associate with someone that is either a pedophile or seeks to normalize pedophilia through those jokes. And I think you see this again too, the way that he engages in discourse. Is a very manipulative way where he's very, very unhonest about the way that he's discussing things. So like when you look at the Lauren Southern discussion with Mr.Girl, right? She's in a position where a lot of people are like, fuck this guy, fuck this guy, fuck this guy. And so what Mr.Girl says is, I'll leave that to you to deal. Like he brings it up and says, I'll leave that to you to deal with, the people in chat calling against me. And to moderate those things, right? So he intentionally puts her in a position where normal people are disgusted by her talking to a pedophile and puts the entire onus on her where she's being the anti-free speech person if she engages in any discussion with the trolls in chat, if you will, etc. And then, and then pushes that envelope further and further, like bringing out his sex doll to look at, right? Or when he says like, I think the age of consent should be 17, right? Like everything, he's attemptedly playing and pushing the boundary in a means of normalization of the paraphilic disorder of pedophilia. And it's just not, it's not a way that you can have a conversation with somebody where you can talk about the idea and the abstract and solutions, because you're dealing with a character. And this character is someone whose very existence as a character is carefully crafted and designed to normalize pedophilia.
Very interesting.
So I'm just,
Okay, hold on.
I'm
We've
just
been
not
talking
going to
about a lot
associate with
here.
that person.
That makes sense. Are we allowed to talk and kind of break some of
Dude,
that down?
go ahead. It's your thing. Sorry. I mean, you asked, so
no,
I'm just
don't be
going to like
sorry
keep
at all.
explaining.
No,
like,
no.
you know, yeah.
Oh no, it's totally okay. I appreciate it. Basically, it's interesting. What's very funny is that I think that you and I are hearing the exact same conversations, obviously. Like, we're watching the same videos, but we come away
I mean, I
with
haven't watched a lot of his stuff. I'm going to be honest with you, right? Because
well, like the Lawrence
it
Southern
grosses
thing,
me out, right? But like at the same time, people are like, you should look into this. And I'm like, okay, I'll look into it some. I can only consume so much before. I think I should, this is also where I should mention this. Several family members, myself included, a lot of friends and stuff, are victims of child molestation and abuse. So like I already have another issue, which is that you start playing around and you start joking about it. I'm like, in all effects, like the lefty, I'm going to get triggered, right? I'm going to see this person as a monster, and I'm not going to be able to like have the same level of rationale, especially when this person's trying to entrap you and trying to engage in a meta conversation beyond the actual conversation.
What is interesting to me is that one of the criticisms that you brought up was that like you don't feel like you can engage in a meaningful conversation with Mr.Girl because you feel like he's playing a character rather than legitimately, I guess, presenting his actual ideas and feelings.
I mean, I hope he's playing a character, because his character is one of a pedophile that like is subtly hinted at, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like
saying that, I don't personally think that I've ever actually seen anything that really is any kind of evidence that would lead me to believe that he's a legitimate pedophile.
No, I think he's playing a character.
I
I think he's playing a character. Okay, so you don't think he's playing a character, and you don't think considers himself like I think the two. I think there's a clash there, right? And I think again, I mean, I'm sure if we went through all of his content, you know, maybe we wouldn't find anything else. And I'm only harping on this one specific thing, and maybe because I haven't curated enough of his content, which every time I attempt to do, it disgusts me. So like, why would I? But
well, I don't want to like beat you over the head with the fact that I've watched like every Mr.Girl video.
Right,
I'm not even
you know what I mean?
like, I don't want to make the argument where it's like, no, bro, you need to watch more of his content. I think that's
right.
shitty.
Like,
I'm
well,
not
I'm
trying
just
to make
saying,
the
like, you know,
argument for you, to be honest.
The totality of it would change my opinion to some degree. But I think the cuties thing, like, is something that just utterly disgusts me in such a way that, like, if I was in a room with that person, I would leave the room, and it doesn't matter the circumstances, because I would choose not to associate with myself with someone like that.
I see Mr.Girl as someone who is willing to not only bite the bullet, but to dine on a buffet of magazines. One of the things I really like about Mr.Girl, and one of the reasons why I don't think that he's playing a character, as you say, is I think that he's literally honest to a fault, where literally the things that he says, most of the time, are not really palatable to the most people, you know, that are in the discourse. And I think that if he really wanted to be a grifter, as in like, you know, because I think kind of the thing you're saying here is he's almost kind of grifting about pedophilia, almost.
I'm
like,
not calling him a grifter, right? What I'm saying is I mean, like, I think everyone plays a character to some degree, right? Like the three masks kind of Japanese metaphor, right? Where and I think we're on an entertainment platform. So I mean, unless he's incredibly lucky in who he is genuinely is that of a caricature, you know what I mean? Like the way he behaves is of one that would almost instantaneously appear to any like passerby as someone attempting shock content. And if you're saying, well, no, I think that's what he really believes, in that he's no filter, right?
He's a shocking guy.
You know what I mean? Like no filter to that degree is a mental illness at that point, right? Because that would mean that like that's who he is at his job. That's who he is when he goes to 7-Eleven, right? Like that's who he is when he's, you know, talking to the cashier at Wawa, right? Like there's a certain decorum that you have in every space, right? And so if you're saying, oh, well, who he is on stream is just really what he believes in who he is that who he is when he's talking to the cashier at Wawa? Is he like, hey, by the way, you seen cuties? Those fucking 11-year-old girls really get me. Well, you know, right? Like that would be a weird fucking conversation, right? And yet he throws things out randomly as they supposedly come to his head that are very shocking to the listener. That to me, I hope is a character, because if not, like that's a sign of something far more. I don't know. I don't want to armchair psychology someone whose content I admittedly haven't deeply perused. You know what I mean? Like that would be irresponsible on multiple levels. But it just does. That message that you're saying, I don't know that it necessarily jives with the way that I view it. But maybe you're right. If so, I don't know. It doesn't make it any less disturbing, and it doesn't make me want to be associated with it anymore.
What I think is interesting about MrGirl, that's kind of unlike pretty much everybody else in this space for the most part, is kind of something you even touched on earlier. Like, something that I really hate about Twitch poll is that a lot of it is just I watch a video, I react to it, someone reacts to my reaction, like I'm just watching the news on stream for X amount of hours straight every day and I react to it, and that content's like super boring. You're not actually creating anything new.
Yeah, I'll give you that. MrGirl creates content, without a doubt.
MrGirl is like an actual... Like, rather than these people on Twitch poll, you know...
I don't like the content, but he creates it.
Yeah, he's a bit of an artist, you know? So if we're gonna go with the, like, let's say, hypothetically, he's playing a character, I guess, when he's an artist, and he's kind of creating these artistic videos, I guess, is how I don't know that
I wouldn't call it art. I would call it craft. I don't think you can call what he does art.
Well, that's wrong. Objectively.
Well, I mean, I would use a different definition of art here. I would think art would require a certain level of skill and a certain invoking of meaning, and I would say that what he does...
What he does requires skill and meaning, so different arguments. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's anti-life what he's doing, in my opinion. It
doesn't make it not art.
I would disagree. Again, I would say that art requires... I would say that art requires that life-bound values be instantiated in them. I would say a lot of things that we discuss as art are craft, but they're not necessarily art. You know what I mean? Like I would make a distinction between, and maybe we can say, maybe, you know, and some people would, I think art, I'm floundering here because I myself struggle with the idea of like separating art and fine art, right? Per se, maybe as definitions versus like what I'm willing to call art. And intuitively, I would say that, like, to me, when I see something as anti-life, when I see something as destructive, I wouldn't call it art, right? Like I'm not saying that by like certain academic definitions or by colloquial definitions that it isn't art. I'm simply saying I wouldn't give it that honor.
I guess I'm gonna completely just disagree, and maybe I guess my definition of art is something created by somebody that is up for limitless interpretation by other people.
Yeah, but then that makes everything art. It makes the definition meaningless.
Yeah, you're right. Almost everything is art. The things that are not art are the things that you create and you specifically attribute specific labels to. Like if I paint a red wall, okay, and I say this is art to you, it's blah blah blah, and I explain the whole meaning of what I've written, it just then has not become art because literally it's no longer open for interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, like I've heard that definition, and it is a definition that I think is, in my opinion, and I'm not saying you're engaging in this. I'm saying like the people in
I understand
in like the art world, if you will, are copping out by making a definition that encompasses everything, because I believe that art is something that is hard to define. I think that art, like what is and isn't art, is so subjective to the human experience because it's engaging in the fringes. It's right. Like there is, you know, Robert Bella has this really, really good book called Human Religion, like and from the or from the Paleolithic to the axial. And he makes an argument that there's kind of like 4 levels of thinking for humans. There's unitive experiences, there's symbolic, there's narrative, and then there is theoretical, right? Analytical, theoretical, critical. And that like it wasn't until kind of like the ancient Greece that we really reached a level where we could think, that 4th stage was achieved, like math, for example, things that you can't really use narrative. And we speak in narratives, right? Like we talk in narratives. And even when we write about science, we explain it in a narrative structure and then show the math, right? And I think art is that symbolic representation. And because it's a symbolic representation, it doesn't always convey a story we're capable of telling with our mouth, right? Like that we're capable of using our language to describe the feelings, the emotions, the process, or the hitting meanings of truth in it. And so when I see something that is anti-life, right, that is utilized in what feels intrinsically to me to be against achievement and against truth, it to me ceases to be art. And how we define that and how we encapsulate that in a definition is something that is incredibly difficult and incredibly subjective. And so we use this definition, like the one that you use, that art is every form of craft that is open for interpretation. And I think there's a truth that definition misses.
Well, like, I would say, like, for your scientific definition, the reason why that's not art is because it is extremely clearly defined by the person. Like, it's not open for interpretation when you read a science paper, for the most part. Like, when he wrote that scientific paper, the intent was that you would read it, you know, it's not open for interpretation short of you going back and, like, having to rerun the experiments or something. But,
right.
Like, whereas, like, a narrative, you know, like Catcher in the Rye or something, like, 20 people could read that, and 20 people will get 20 different experiences out of it.
For sure.
Whereas the 20 people that read that scientific paper, the end goal is that those 20 people leave with the same 20 things. And that's why that's not art. That's why the Catcher in the Rye.
But I mean,
and that's the thing about MrGirl's video, is if you watch a MrGirl video.
But you're also excluding art that is of extreme craftsmanship, that the meaning is literal, and yet you would deny it art. So like by your definition, a toddler could draw a drawing, and then I'd be like, what is this? And they would just say, I was angry. And that's art. But like the statue of David isn't. You know what I mean? Like right. because the meaning is explicit, right? Like it is a statue of David, and it is the embodiment of the perfect man. And like it is explained what it is. And yet that is obviously
I might
art.
Look at the statue of David and I might think, wow, toxic masculinity in its purest. Look how even the ancient Greeks back then, they had this horrible toxic masculine idea of what a perfect man is. Do you know what I mean? So in other words, you look at it and you have a different interpretation. I do. I have a different interpretation.
Right, but now you just water down your definition to where everything is art, even things with explicit meaning, because you can have a subjective different opinion about it. So now the red wall that you said, I painted this red wall, it's a red wall, to me says, no, this is so much more. Right? It's a talk about modernity and the way that colors and the palettes and the vibrancy of life have been devoid in this off-white palette cleansed square structures of the domiciles in which we live in. And he tries to convey that a modern world can encapsulate the rage that we have of living inside a box. And you'd be like, no, fucker, it's a red wall.
Who said that?
I said that.
The artist or the person who is viewing the art?
Right, but you just said that you're the one that could look at the statue of David and come with a different opinion.
My point that I'm trying to get at is that the artist itself, the person who created said art, it's kind of like as soon as they put their specific meaning into it, in my opinion, it then ceases to be art, or at least is less art than before. Because for me, for something to be art, it needs to be able to be interpreted by the people that are actually viewing the piece rather than the people that create the piece.
I think we disagree there, and that's okay.
That's okay. I love you. I still love you, Fabian. I think this is a good conversation. I get it. Defining what is art is just an extremely vacuous conversation. But
yeah, right.
What's interesting though is I think that it explains your worldview though. You don't see that anything that MrGirl creates is art, and I do.
No, I see it as anti-life. I see it as representing the normalization of something that is destructive and has a goal associated with it. I see it as anti-art. I see it as mocking the very idea of human values and progress. I see it as evil. I have
I don't know. I don't know.
But I see a lot of things as evil that normal people wouldn't see as evil, right? Like I see consequentialism as evil. I see people that, I see the state as evil. I see any individual that is, exerting power over others non-voluntarily as evil, right? Like I would call a lot of things evil that your typical person wouldn't call evil. That doesn't mean that I won't engage with that evil, but it does mean that I don't want to associate myself with that. Because the person embodies their perspective, right? If I have a debate with Stardust about feminism, right? I recognize that we can have a debate about feminism as an abstract, separate from the two of us. And we can nitpick about the abstract, separate from the two of us. MrGirl is an embodiment of the way that he does his anti-art, the antics that he uses in conversation, the character that he plays, or for in your position, the lack of the openness and lack of character and his willingness to embody his ideals, right? To the most charitable interpretation.
Wait, you don't think that he embodies his own ideals?
Well, no, I said I'm giving two separate interpretations and trying to be fair in the full spectrum. I see that as someone where you're not able to engage in the abstract and have a meaningful conversation. Instead, all that I have seen, and maybe I've again, it's limited and curated, but all that I have seen has been someone that has detracted from the conversation and turned everything into a game of associations and a game of antics that make it impossible to actually have the meaningful conversation. And there are, I won't be a part of that. If someone else wants to talk about MrGirl, like that's fine. And again, I think platforming was such a weird word used both by me in a moment of like kind of anger maybe, and by other people that talked about it, as well as like what you said here today, like you don't want a platform. I'm not fucking platforming MrGirl, right? Like MrGirl, was platformed by Destiny. Like that was platforming, right? Not that I give a fuck, but like, you know what I mean? Every streamer had to get it, right? Stardust has talked to him. Chud Logic has talked to him. Not So Erudite had zero, had like, a couple of views and like, was a single viewer, Digit Andy, and then talked to MrGirl and instantly was a triple viewer and maintained triple views from that point on.
Huge.
Right?
You believe that shit? Insane.
Right. So it's like, and like to me, I'm not
I
doing that.
Yeah, I feel that.
But it's not about platforming. In all honesty, it'd be the exact opposite. If I had a conversation, if I had a debate with MrGirl right now, I would double my numbers probably because I would be seen to thousands of people and you know what I mean? And like, maybe not because conservatives on Twitch are really small. Like I'm like the third or fourth largest kind of right-wing channel, despite being a tenth of the size of like your average popular left-wing person on here. Because the audience share, the market share is like 90% left wing. So maybe I wouldn't be that big, but like I would certainly increase my views and numbers. Definitely on that stream. So no, I'm not arguing about platforming him. I don't want to be so hubristic to think like I'm giving him something. I might be platforming in the sense I'm the largest ANCAP, and that would be interesting content for him to talk to an ANCAP. But other than that, it's really about me not wanting to associate with someone that I find disgusting and whose tactics I find morally, dodgy at best, I'll say.
Let me configure the brain here and think about where I want to take this. That's very interesting.
Look, he's bored, chat.
No, I do have my chat over here, but I'm more just trying to think. My chat is asking me to ask you questions, but I just don't think it's appropriate yet.
Yeah, I mean, I did want to talk about like Twitch toxicity in general at some point as well.
Yeah, we'll only stay on this for maybe 10 more minutes max, and then we should get into that.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to push you in one direction or another. I like 1v1s to, not that we're debating, but we're just having a conversation, but I like them to free form.
It's all good. This has been enjoyable so far. I guess, I don't know. I guess I just really push back against this idea that he's playing a character a lot. I don't really think that he's playing a character. I think that the reality is that he is like significantly more honest and actually less manipulative than a lot of streamers. Like specifically because a lot of the times he will have meta conversations about manipulation before even having the talk. Like he'll literally like one of the first things that he'll ask is like, "Hey, are you looking at your chat?" Because it's like he doesn't want the person that he's interviewing to like be manipulated by their chat. Like he will go on and he will like he has this big thing about when he thinks that people are lying, which obviously, and he'll call people out and be like, "You're lying, and I don't think you hold this position." Da 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 da.
Speaking of looking at chat, I have someone in chat that is dying to ask this question. So I mean, I guess I'll when we get to the question, just like save it. Like I have one from my chat that's curious as well.
Okay. Yeah, I just it's interesting to me just because one of my favorite things about him is I feel like he doesn't play a character. Like, I like Destiny because I think he doesn't really play a character for the most part either. Why do I not like Vosh anymore? I used to think Vosh was kind of a pretty legit, like, fairly honest guy, but now I'm kind of the opinion that I think that he basically will say anything to further leftist causes, no matter what. So, in other words, not very honest. I really like Stardust because I think she's a pretty honest streamer. I really like you because I think you're a pretty honest streamer. It's just very interesting. So either my like radar is just completely fucked up, or your interpretation based on kind of just like how you've lived your life or the interactions that you've had on the space, like
yeah, I mean,
think that
look, I'm not
an honest character.
I'm not the know all end all of any of this, right? I just what I have seen gives me that intuition. Like nobody can know whether or not someone's a liar unless they state or misrepresent a fact and you can prove that they knew that previously, right? You know what I mean? Like that's really the only way you can really prove someone a liar is, one day they state something as a fact and then another day they state something that is counter to that fact. And it's like, dude, a week ago you said this. I know that you knew this information. You're pretending this information doesn't exist, right?
Yes.
This is like really the only way you can prove that someone is a liar. So I think lying is an interesting, lying or grifting is an interesting thing because it's part intuitive, right? But it's also part of a totality. You know what I mean? Like you take a totality of circumstances and then you kind of add them up together and you get a feeling for the way that someone is engaging, right? And then you can also see tactics and behavior that could be natural, right? Okay. But are manipulative in a way that they are, right? So like I am careful to say that I know for a fact he's playing a character. I hope that he's playing a character because many of the things that he's said, if they are just random thoughts in the head, would disturb me to know that a human thinks those things. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not against platforming. I'm not against, I don't advocate any form of censorship in any way. Right? The most that I will say is that I don't want to associate with this person. And that when people choose to speak with this person, especially right-wing people, right? I lose respect for them. Because it's like, you're right-wing, you're against this idea, you're against this, and then you say, oh, well, I spoke to them to have a debate, and then you had a really friendly conversation with them. Right? It's like when, you remember Laura Loomer? When she had that, do you know who Laura Loomer is? She was like a big, she was like alt-light kind of like years ago. And she was supposed to be on a speaking engagement with Jordan Peterson and a couple other people. And they canceled her because she went and spoke to ethno-nats and she spoke to them in a very friendly way, right? Like she didn't really challenge their ideas or philosophy. So I kind of feel the same way about MrGirl, right? It's like, how can I have a large amount of respect for Lauren Southern when she has this very friendly kind of cheeky conversation with them and they're constantly laughing and joking throughout the conversation? If someone is representing political ideas and cultural ideas that are so counter to yours, it's very clear at a certain point, you're there for the clicks, you're there for the views, you're there for the drama, you're there for the clout. You're not there because you feel deeply you need to challenge these views.
But MrGirl was very, very not famous for a very long time, Like when he was in college, he wrote the thing about indoctrinating Asian people in his newsletter. Like he wasn't getting money or clout or fame for writing that. So I have reason to believe that the reason why he wrote that was because he honestly felt that way and he was telling the truth, right? And he has a lot of stuff on his YouTube channel. Like he has stuff on his YouTube channel from 2 or 3 years before he ended up blowing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that, and then if you've watched those videos and you see how he how he acts himself on the live streams and in his newer productions, I think that they're fairly ideologically consistent, which to me also would symbolize that he's being honest.
Yeah, I don't think that that's a. I mean, like that's an interesting interpretation, but I don't think that that's a strong argument, right? Like, plenty of people are attempting to get famous while not being famous, right? And then it works eventually. And if it works, you know what I mean? Like
his stuff isn't popular. You know what I mean? Like his ideas that he propagates, like there's not really big, like compared to the pile of money that would be for like left-wing ideas, there's not like the same pile of money for ideas about pedophilia. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, like, well, there's, I mean, sure. I mean, like, yes, I've often thought, like, God, if only I was a lefty, right? Because I'm a pretty good debater, right? Like, I don't think, I think anybody that says that I'm a bad debater is just acting in poor faith, right? And bad faith. And I, you know, and I wouldn't say that I'm like, I don't know. I've done fairly well given having a radical minority ideology. You know, and I've often thought, like, God, dude, like some of these people are just like chumps and they're like 10 times my views, right? And it's like, well, the market share is 90% left wing. Well, it's not horrible. It just is what it is, right? The
I think it's annoying as fuck. I think it's horrible. Like in the marketplace of ideas, it's so shitty. Like we have just created this insane left wing echo chamber that, like,
on Twitch, I mean, like, right, YouTube swings slightly right. You know, there are alt platforms. Like, there's certainly, like, you know, social media censorship. That's why we came to Twitch, right? Was because despite it being a left-wing echo chamber, this is where the battleground was in some ways. But also, there's censorship on Twitch, but it's much, much less effective because it's not like YouTube where the algorithm is like God. You know what I mean? Like the algorithm is God on YouTube.
My
right?
audience is not the people watching my videos. My audience is the algorithm.
Right. Your audience is the algorithm on YouTube. Whereas on Twitch, you know,
Correct.
you can slowly but surely find someone, and if they like you and they join your Discord and like they become part of your community, they'll return, and like you can build an audience regardless of whether or not you get recommended to people on Twitch, regardless of whether or not you show up at the top bar. Like over time, you can gain more and more of an audience, and even if the algorithm doesn't particularly like you, you can fight that fight. YouTube, not so much, right?
Yeah, no, I understand. The way that I've always thought about it is what a wise Twitch person told me was that you need to bring your audience to Twitch to watch your Twitch. But on YouTube, it's kind of the opposite. You are making something and you want to make it as nice to the algorithm and SEO so that people will find your shit on YouTube. Yeah. And you want to gather an audience and then bring your audience to watch your Twitch stream. Because Twitch is doing jack all to get people to actually watch your stream. Like, there's basically no algorithm there to put your stream in front of people, you know?
Right. Was there anything else you want? I mean, like I get what you're saying about the character, right? And like when I see him, I see a lot of antics. Are those antics honest? Well, in your opinion, they are. In my opinion, they don't appear sincere. That really is less of a. That's less of a. It's less important to me whether or not those antics are sincere.
Let's this is a great segue, I think, into the next thing, because I will be willing totally to eat this bullet. When MrGirl participates in the antics as you describe them of Twitch poll or YouTube poll, yeah, there is a bit of a character element, I guess, to that. He's you know what I mean? He's leaning into that aspect.
We all do it, right?
Which
like
if you see me
exactly, if you see me on a hippy dippy, you might think I am a raging lunatic asshole that screams about Marxism.
Oh, I love it.
Right? Some of it is because I'm on a panel with 8 other people, right? And so I recognize that you can't make an argument on a panel, right? Because an argument requires a statement, right? Both deductive and inductive arguments, right? Like require not only a statement, but supporting evidence for your statement. either deductive and axiomatic, where the argument must be true, or some form of like empirical or probabilistic, where an inductive argument like should be true or is probably true, right? And so in order to do that, you need enough time to present an idea that should be counter to the narrative or counter to the current conversation, that has nuance to it, make that argument, and then give supporting things behind that argument. And the best you can do if you're trying really hard is to let everyone else have a shitstorm and then come in and be like, here's my argument, here's my thing, and here's a study. But even then, the study is meaningless because nobody gets to really look at the methodology of the study or really go into depth about what the study really purports. You're really just doing an appeal to an authority. And so you can really only make deductive arguments. You can't make inductive arguments effectively. Right. And so it's a terrible platform. So I play a character that's a little bit more like, I'm going to be based as fuck. But it's not, am I playing a character? Not really. I'm just kind of yelling sometimes, interrupting bad arguments, and trying to get out the bullet points and hoping that they'll come later for a more in-depth conversation. MrGirl is obviously doing the same thing. He's going to bring out his sex doll so he can play with his sex doll so that it can be entertaining and fun and wild. And so that now he has control of the conversation because everyone else is stun locked in the antics that he's doing. And now he has enough time to be able to make the argument that he wants to make. Is it manipulative? Yes, it's manipulative, but is it any more manipulative than me, screaming at somebody that they're a Marxist, even though what I would really say is that they're, engaging in, post-structuralist, deconstructionist thought mixed with Marxist materialist dialectics, and that like I find that specific tactic to be an ineffective way of, you know what I mean? Like, am I going to be able to say that? Right. You know what I mean? I'm like, nerd. Fuck you, Marxist. And then they're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I get that.
You see?
Yeah, no, I get that. But see, I think that MrGirl participates in that kind of content like significantly less than the rest of his content. And this isn't to beat you over the head with I watch all of his content. I'm a huge simp, which is true. But like I think the content that everybody sees, maybe you included, is the spicier content that's just getting out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna deny that the drama and the algorithm is gonna bring me the worst shit.
Here's what I would pose to you, Fabian.
Not watching his content.
Maybe listen to me. Hear me out. Just keep maybe semi an open mind. Okay. And what I would suggest is watch a piece of content that's not pedophile related. Do you know what I mean? Because the other thing is he goes on these arcs, right? Like there was the Dr. K arc where he went and he interviewed a bunch of like therapists and did this whole Dr. K.
And the Dr. K arc to me was also super disgusting in my opinion.
All right. We don't have to. All right, let's not get on that. But anyway, so then the second arc is
I'm just saying. That was another thing that was like, fuck this guy. I don't want to talk to this guy.
Dr. K should fucking burn.
I think Dr. K is an amazing, fucking beautiful human being, and the fact that he went after someone.
Yeah, and he's abusing his abusing his medical license to give therapy to people online. Yeah,
no, I would say as someone that went to grad school for counseling and has heavily read the APA and ACA ethics guidelines, I do understand the importance of online spaces and audiences and things of that nature. I think the way that he has presented that is disgusting, and I think that Dr. K is a beautiful person that has advocated in mental health for a lot of people that don't have voices in such a way, and is always pushed forward that they should seek actual psychotherapy, that what they're doing is not tantamount to psychotherapy, that it is ineffective and that it is something that shouldn't be done. And I think there are certain aspects that allow people to see things in a new light. I think, for example, the interviews with Reckful before his suicide really showcases the drama as well as the pain and hurt of family dynamics and depression in such a way that I think has probably made the world a better place. Excluding the work that he's done for Harvard.
Really? What about psilocybin use while you might potentially be fucking have postpartum depression? Not postpartum depression, but you might have bipolar disorder. Like, that's a fucking retarded ass take.
There's plenty.
Like Dr. K being like, "Oh
no,
hey, yeah, your psilocybin use. You maybe you should keep doing that." No, you really shouldn't take psychedelics if you bipolar or you're having issues where you might kill yourself. No, you should not take psychedelics. Like on average. No. Especially not without the help of an actual fucking doctor.
There's,
you know what I mean?
I mean, like, I agree with you on that. Like, people can have some bad takes, right? But at the same time, it's not like his argument is completely absurd, right? There's plenty of clinical research that has shown that psilocybin, that's one psilocybin experience, right? That is considered religious.
I'm here. I understand. I've read all of that. I'm very pro psilocybin use for medical usage. With your fucking doctor, though, not online getting posted up by. And the other thing is, Dr. K was not big before this fucking rectal shit. All right, we're getting into a huge tangent. I don't want to go into it. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Dr. K's. And that's so coming from someone, and I'm saying coming from someone that has pretty substantially studied, counseling and psychotherapy. I disagree with you on that. And I think that was and I think that his takes and attacks on Dr. K were misinformed and shameful. But that is what it is. I work with psychologists and therapists, 10 of them. I all showed them the Dr. K rectal video, and they all thought that what he was doing online, just the clips that were shown, would have already been like. In other words, I understand the point that you're making. Maybe I'm even willing to say that maybe Dr. K is a net good. Okay, like overall, but yeah. I don't give a shit because my moral is like, if you have a medical license, you should not be practicing medicine on the internet. Period. So that's kind of where my thing falls. And my honest opinion is that actually having the medical license puts you more at fault because you should know better. Dr. K went to college for at least 8 to 10 years. He knows better than to bring this shit up.
I think you're just patently wrong there. He's not practicing medicine. He's not practicing psychotherapy online. And it's very clear every time that he's not doing it. Yeah, well, it's an odd argument because it came to that, right? No, like I understand that the ACA and the APA, and I forget the one for MSWs, because it's not MSWPA or A. I can't remember what it is, but regardless, I understand that they advocate against practicing psychotherapy digitally, much less online, right? Because your abuser could be in the same room as you, because the inability to read body language the same way. And then once you add online, you add chats and you add a parasocial relationship, it taints the ability. It taints the ability to have that kind of meaningful breakdowns, things like that. But I don't think that's messed up. I don't think that's any more messed up than any streamer talking to their chat about their mental health issues. I don't think that's any more messed up.
Right either. I'll be honest, I'm not really a huge fan of that either. I think that there's I think that as a whole culture and like society in America, I think that we should be more like pro mental health, like pro get a psychiatrist or a therapist in your IRL life, not online, not the BetterHelp bullshit either. Like you should actually go out and communicate with a real human that's going to be able to like read.
But that's not what he's advocating for, and I think you're clearly misrepresenting someone that's obviously far more qualified than you and I, right? Who's someone that was training to be a monk. Right, and thought that his quote unquote dharma was
the other thing too, a mix of religion and medicine. I don't fuck with that either.
Well, I think that's also against the research, right? I think Christian pastors that have engaged in psychotherapy training have shown positive results because individuals are more willing to trust those that align with their religious values and beliefs in psychotherapy, as well as the fact that it can be a powerful psychotherapeutic tool. Many Christians will refuse to seek psychotherapy unless the religion is infused into their psychotherapy because they believe that they need the spirit of the Holy Ghost, right? To be fair, I went to Liberty University for counseling, right? So I learned a lot of Christian kind of interpretation of psychotherapy. But that being said, no, I think you have someone that is, highly qualified, right? Like someone that is working in the highest echelons of clinical psychology. This isn't just like some random psychologist, right? He's working at Harvard, like he's well researched, and mostly what he has realized is gamers, right? And young men have been left out of the conversation of seeking mental health. And his idea is to showcase that parasocial relationship and sprinkle in some of these ideas in the hopes that all of these people can get better access to mental health care. The entire point is to get people to seek psychotherapy for their issues.
What are your opinions on MrGirl's like Ask MrGirl series, where people come on and ask him questions?
I haven't seen any of them. Every time I see them,
the meme is that, you know, at the end of basically everything, he says, "You should go get a therapist." You know, there's kind of this meme because the reality, you know, because he knows that he's not a therapist, and he knows that the people are coming on to have kind of like a, you know, he's exploiting them, right? I mean, any kind of conversation is exploitative in a way, an interview.
Not really.
Kinda.
Only, I mean, like, what's your?
I know what you mean. All right, we don't gotta get.
I'm a
into the nuance of it.
capitalist.
I got it.
Right. Like
exactly. I mean,
I wouldn't say it's exploitative, right? I would just say that that if both people value something, then it's not exploitation. If people value being able to speak to someone in a parasocial relationship and get advice from somebody that they respect, that's not exploiting them. Just because they're getting views in context. That's a contractual.
Someone gains significantly more in that relationship, like dinero, like MrGirl. He's probably exploiting them.
No, if I sell you a bottle of water in the desert for $2, right? You gain significantly more than I gain. I gain $2 and you gain not dying from thirst. But it was a mutual contractual thing, and we're both happy and we both come out better. Like, that's not exploitation.
Sell it to me for $200, and it's my last $200, and I'm not going to be able to eat that night.
That's also not exploitative.
Thank you for having the water, but if we were to put it on a scale of exploitation, you would say that one was more exploitative than the other.
Right, but
that's all I'm trying to get at.
But the presupposition would be the exploitation is present, and I deny the exploitation.
Great, all right.
Being inherent to a consensual transaction between two people that are of sound mind and body.
Okay, fair. I'll take that L. Fair. Okay.
Well, you said I wanted to talk about Twitch politics, drama, and general.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. For sure. We'll do it. Let's get into it.
That was the other half of this.
Yeah. No. I'm sorry. We don't have to take the whole air.
If there was a chat question or two that you thought was really insightful, I have one. If there's one you wanted to ask, like, we can get that taken care of, so we can like kind of use that as a transition to the next topic.
I would love to. Let me see here. So someone specifically asked me, he said, please don't let him get away with the MrGirl is a character or a pedophile statement.
Well, I feel like we had that conversation in circles.
We won't do that. The question was, can you get him to define anti-life?
Oh, God. So anti-life in a vague position would be anything that goes against the fulfillment of a meaningful life. The problem is, well, what's a meaningful life, right? And then you get into the position of having to define meaning. So to not go into the kind of that trap and just say, like, what is anti-life without trying to describe meaning to humans, I would say anything that goes against, in my position as an anarcho-capitalist, right, that is furthering the causes and ideals that go against that of the right of body ownership and the right of self-autonomy. And when I see and the right of people being able to flourish without coercion. So I would say anything that is statist is anti-life, and anything that seeks to normalize predatory behaviors, which is how I view MrGirl, obviously not how you view MrGirl, in my opinion, would be anti-life, because it's furthering the causes that go against my axiomatic kind of positions of a descriptive legal law. But I think the first definition is better, but it goes into an entirely different meta conversation about what is meaning, that I think is a massive aside here.
Feel that might be for the Ayn Rand conversation that we have someday about objectivism.
I don't know that I'm the best person to talk about objectivism. I have a lot of objectivists in my, like, you've seen it in my Discord, but like, I'm not an objectivist myself. But there's a weird allyship.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a weird allyship because you got to understand, Ayn Rand and Rothbard developed their ideas together before Ayn Rand hated him, right? So
really?
Yeah, they were friends before they were enemies. They were friends while anarcho-capitalism was being invented at the same time that objectivism was being invented. So there's going to be overlap. They're both libertarians, and yet Ayn Rand hates libertarians.
What's your chatter's question?
Oh, they want to know, what is your interpretation of I Kill Pedophiles?
It's a rap song.
That's your interpretation?
I have a rap song where I play I rap as an earthworm that owns trap houses and makes crack, The rap album is called King Crack, and I'm literally what do they call it when you're an animal? Anamorphosized?
Yes, there you go.
And I'm an anamorphosized earthworm that goes around and robs people.
Hold on, let me get the question specifically, because the song "I Kill Redacted" is designed. Oh no.
I think it's a rap song. I don't think that it's like a tell-all of like. I've listened to the song, obviously. I know what they're talking about.
Well, they want the specific example of "I Kill Pedophiles" by Mr. What is your interpretation of the lyrics? Do you think they're anti or pro?
Pedophilia?
Yeah.
Anti, obviously. It's the irony of the song. I think it's pretty obvious, right?
I would say it's the exact opposite. That's interesting.
Like on rapgenius.com and I pulled up the rap lyrics of the song, you think that it's like a manifesto for making people pro-pedophiles or what?
Yes,
like,
absolutely. I think it's a manifesto for
really
making people pro-pedophiles. Yes.
Come the fuck on. So does that mean any kind of gangster rap song is a pro, let's make motherfuckers gangster? You know what I mean? Like any song about selling drugs makes people sell drugs? Like what kind of shit is that?
Well, because that would be the exact opposite argument, right? The argument would, what you should have said if that was your argument is, does that mean that every gangsta rap is trying to get people to turn away from the gangsta lifestyle, right? Because that is my argument, is that it's subversion. That I Kill Pedophiles is designed to disgust people and normalize the empathy for the individual, and that it is without a doubt pro-pedophilia.
My argument is that it's a piece of art, and the premise of the song, like what he's intending for you to get out of it, while not explicitly stating it, because then it wouldn't be art anymore, is that you're supposed to listen to the song and realize that, like, obviously he doesn't believe in any of the crazy fucking things that he is saying in the video. He's taking the first one, you know, about I would kill pedophiles, you know, and then throughout the whole rest of the song, he's just going on to kill crazier and crazier people for different reasons, you know?
Right.
So yeah, so I'd say, so obviously the intent of the song is anti-pedophilia.
Right, and it
but he's anti-killing them. You know what I mean? Like,
right, but it's intended to characterize the other side's position as one of violence and as one of hate, and tie it in such a way. You think it's one of hate to why?
Yeah, it is one of hate. People absolutely hate pedophiles.
Well, should they not?
Here's the thing. Like, I think you should hate people that abuse children. I don't think you should hate people that necessarily. Well, like what I'm just saying is like if the
pedophile. Not you. Sorry, Chatter's yelling at me.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, they're like you missed the chorus, and it's like, yes, I get the chorus is the person begging, right?
Yeah. Just a rap song. I mean, like, you know, don't you think that we should?
Well, you say it's just a rap song. And then you also say it's
Scott,
art.
don't you think we should be able to have the environment in the whole entire world, that we should be able to create pieces of media and not necessarily have to like have every single word of everything be interpreted literally, right? So if you can believe that, don't you think we can show the same charitability to Mr.Girl in hopes that we don't ever have to share that charitability with you or me? Like if we create something?
No,
you know what I mean?
No, I believe we should have freedom of association. I don't think anyone should ever live in a world where charitability is supposed to be given de facto towards someone. I think people have the right and should, if they so choose, analyze individuals to the highest extent that they ever want to and choose to not associate or associate with them at their leisure.
But if you purposefully are uncharitable in conversations, then
you should not associate with me.
well, no, just like for the entire world, right? If people are uncharitable in conversations or like they approach conversations uncharitably, then there's no reason to have that conversation with them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so I feel like
you know what I mean. If someone is completely uncharitable, it's perfectly fine to not associate with that person. I don't understand.
It's like, I don't know. Could you like imagine like if I sent you the message about Mr.Girl and you were like, Will, I'm not going to talk to you because you associate with Mr.Girl and I'm 100% not going to talk to you. Like, and you didn't, obviously.
That would be perfectly reasonable.
Maybe it would be reasonable, but it would be uncharitable, and then it wouldn't have led to, I think, has been a fairly good conversation so far.
Right.
And I've been given things to think about.
I think we're getting in between the ideal of how you think individuals should act, right? Versus like what is morally or ethically wrong or illegal descriptively, right? So like, yeah, I mean, sure, you can wish for people to ideally act in that way, I don't wish for anybody to ideally act in any way other than to respect the non-aggression principle, rights of private property in my body. I think a world would be best if some people were uncharitable. I think a world would be best if some people were rude. I think a world would be best where we don't try and moralize personality traits and characteristics or ideas, and instead we only demand that we live in a voluntary society where people choose to associate with and choose to not associate with whomever they want. Like, I have no problem with anybody acting in any fucking way, so long as I have the ability to not want to associate myself with them when they do so, and so long as they're not coercive towards me in any capacity.
I agree, but wouldn't you like to live, like, if you had to design kind of your perfect society, wouldn't it be better for that perfect society to be like more good faith, open to having conversations, and then in return the other people would have to be also of good faith? And I guess, you know, one of the things I really respect about MrGirl is that I think he's pushing for like a depolarizing kind of message. He wants people from the, you know, these people on the left and the right, they fucking hate each other. They hate each other so much that they want to kill each other. And it's because, like, we are having a really, in my opinion, I think we're having a hard time empathizing with each other and empathizing with the other points, and then kind of like coming up with strategies to bring us all together. You know,
I think
because we do have strategies.
I think
like,
some people, right, should totally have large amounts of empathy and should totally strategize with whom they want to. And I think the world would also be a great place if some people lacked empathy and didn't care. I don't care. Like, I don't place any value in specifically trying to live in a world where everyone has like these certain things that you or I specifically value as personality traits, right? Like, the only thing that I care about, dead ass, is that people leave me the fuck alone, that people have the right to associate with whom they want to, that we have private property, right? And that there's no coercion placed on my life. And then different societies and different cultures and different personalities will live together and freely associate together in ways that I might not agree with, or that I might not like, or that I might not feel comfortable with. And yet it is that difference and that freedom of association and that decoupling that allows for true multiculturalism, which progresses humanity to its fullest extent, because it unlocks the true human potential of mankind to have everybody be different in the way that they're different, so long as they're not harming.
Yeah. No, I feel you. That's very interesting. The thing is that I completely understand what you're saying, and I guess I'm just gonna have to respectfully disagree. Only because
fair enough.
Yeah, which is totally fair. And honestly, I do respect the utility in what you're saying, because I do think that there is some truth to that, for sure. Like, there are a lot of aspects of our society that perhaps would be solved easier, I guess, if everybody was left to their own devices and
I think this gets into the next topic a little bit, right? But I think we're living increasingly in a moralizing society that attempts to tell other people what they should think, what they should do, how they should act. And that, to me, is like the true, that is a limiting factor on human potential, is that everyone is kind of like, we're getting into this, we can't say that. You're not supposed to have this idea. You're not supposed to do that. I fully accept, for example, MrGirl having all the fucking opinions he wants. I can look at them and say I think they're wrong and I think they're evil, and yet still respect that he should have the right to espouse them. And I should have the right to argue against them. And I should also have the right to not want to associate with that person, because I don't want to be tied to that person. And I think that's the real issue here, is that we've lost this, we've gotten into this place in society where, and in Twitch politics too, like, we're seeing it with like so many people. It's like, how dare you platform this person, right? Which I think is so funny and hypocritical, is like all of these people talk about like, how dare Stardust platform, you know, this guy that used to do the Kill Stream podcast, right? And it's like, meanwhile, nobody gives a fuck about anybody platforming MrGirl. In fact, it's somehow controversy when someone says they won't. like that to me blows my fucking mind, right? But it's like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like
I'm not, and I just want to make it clear, I'm not shitting on you for not wanting to talk to him. I just think it's interesting. Is that fair? Like, I don't think you're like a bad person or like you know what I mean? Like, I completely agree with you. Like, everybody should be able to associate with whoever they want. I guess just my big fear, and maybe this is the last thing we'll say about it, is just that I'm scared that the thought process that you use, like, if it were taken to its fullest extent, is kind of like also a justification for like ethno-states and things like that.
Absolutely. I totally support the right of people to have ethno-states.
Fair, totally. And I personally, I just don't really, I don't think that
wouldn't the world be a better place?
Hear me out. I personally think no, because I think multiculturalism is better for everybody.
No, I'm arguing for multiculturalism. You're not.
No, I think the blending of culturalism, I think a melting pot of culture is better.
Okay.
There you go.
So multiple cultures brought together and then forced to live together.
100 years ago, it's very recent, 100 years ago, we were much more separate just because of technology, obviously. And as of late, we have been able to remove a lot of those barriers. And it's been really amazing for society because I am now able to learn different things about different cultures and then make, based on my objective morals, I'm allowed to make my own,
I'm just curious, what's wrong with an ethno-state?
It's not so much what's wrong with an ethno-state, it's what do you have to do to get there. It usually means that you have to expel all of the other people that live in that area.
What's wrong with freely associating in private property and saying, like, I don't want these people.
Well, hear me out. What if, hear me out. So, like, let's say, I live in San Diego. So let's say, somehow the population ends up being 99% Mexican here and 1% white, okay? So then they're like, okay, well, we want the Mexican ethno-state. And I'm like, but I don't want to give up my house here that I have in the middle of this sea of 99% of people. So you're going to kick me out, right?
I never advocated for that. I advocate for anarchism.
So no laws. Hey, first person in my house to fuck it up gets
no.
I mean,
I'm
like,
an ANCAP.
You know what I mean?
I'm an ANCAP. I don't argue that you just go and like. That's a weird way of defining anarchism. That's like an odd trope.
Well, lack of laws, right? Lack of laws?
It's a lack of rulers.
Lack of rulers?
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend that I know a lot about anarchism.
Yeah, I'll give you 1,000. I'll give you 1,000-foot view, not of anarchism, because there's multiple. That's a deep rabbit hole, right?
Yeah. Well, I feel bad.
But I don't advocate. I'm not advocating that an ethno-state that people use force or violence. What I'm saying is, if a group of people want to go freely purchase property somewhere, right, and then they want to live together in a community, and and everyone in that community agrees voluntarily,
that's fine.
We don't want these people here. And then when people show up, they go, hey, we're not going to let you on our property. This is our place. We don't let that. As long as you don't use violence, you don't use coercion or anything. Instead, they just live freely as those people.
That's fine. But as soon as for some reason I need to like get across your town, what if you just decided this is no blacks allowed in this town, but you need to get through this town to go do some shit on the other side of the fucking mountain? Like, you've now created, a space where
we go around.
Yeah, you're just I'm just gonna have to hardcore disagree on that one, only just based on principle alone. I understand the point that you're making, and I guess theoretically, here's the thing, okay? You had me up until, okay, listen, it's a group of people, they go and they make their own spot, they buy the land, blah, 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 and it's a population of only these people living here, and where you lost me was when you're like, and no one else is allowed in, even to visit. I'm like, okay, so now you're segregating,
which is,
again, I think it's a net bad for society.
Why
I think
is it
segregated, because segregated societies are just less strong than non-segregated societies.
So do you think we should have one world government?
There? Absolutely not.
Although what you're arguing for is segregated societies.
I think honestly, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 years from now, maybe it would make more sense to have a unified world government. Maybe. But kind of as the world as it stands now, because we live in a society that's the the meme.
Yeah, of course,
like,
right.
We have to have at least country-style governments. But I mean, globalism's real. Everything's everywhere all the time,
Yeah,
and
so
trying to fight against that, it's foolish. You'll never beat it.
So like what ANCAPs, ultimately what ANCAPs argue for, right, is voluntary association and the right of self-ownership, right? Like, do you own your body, right? Do you believe that you own your body? that your body is yours and people can't tell you what to do with your body, and they can't like touch your body or like, right? Like you believe that like you have to consent. Right.
Yes.
So like the problem is that you don't believe in that fully unless you're an anarchist. You only believe in that kinda. Because you believe that you own your body to not be raped, right? Correct. I don't want to assume, but I would assume that you don't think I can rape you whenever I want. Right?
Take me to dinner.
Yeah, right. There you go. Right. So you believe that, but when you go to your job, you believe that you can be taxed. You believe that you can be forced to have the fruits of your labor, and what you do with your body, you can have the voluntary contract that you set up. Another power can use violence and force to take away what you earned from your body. Except you can't decouple that work. So you agree to some form of slavery the moment you agree to non-voluntary taxation.
Yes, exactly. I'm a wage slave for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
you agree to it. You agree that is right and morally okay. So therefore, you don't actually believe in bodily autonomy.
I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right or okay.
Oh, so you're against taxation because you believe it's a form of theft.
Fuck yeah, I'm an Ayn Randian economist. I can't talk. Yeah, I believe in Ayn Randian economics. Like, fuck taxes. Taxes are shit. I think that honestly, like, if we all kept that money, I think that we would just invest it more in shit that actually would be more beneficial to us, like, all around. Yeah.
So if you follow that, right?
Like,
but
local taxes, federal taxes, fairly iffy.
So,
I think that we could probably.
So your arguments don't make sense, right? There's some cognitive dissonance here, right? Because on one point, you say I own my body, I own the fruits of my labor, and no one should be able to forcefully take those things from me unless I voluntarily choose to do so for a transaction that's mutually beneficial. And then you say, but I do agree that some authority should have the right to use violence against me, to force me and my body and my property to freely to associate with people that I don't want to associate with, and that I'm okay with that. Why? Because of a consequentialist outcome? Like, don't call yourself a Randian capitalist if your justification is consequentialism.
Let me think about that for a sec. That's fair. It's, I know what you mean. I try to center, I guess, my core axioms around Ayn Randian economy stuff. You know what I mean? Because I think that in an idealized society, those would kind of be like the best things to do, right? But I kind of feel like just because we live in the society meme, like, we've kind of like fallen off of the bandwagon sort of so hard that I don't know if we can ever really completely get back onto it. So perhaps right now, because like I agree, if theoretically maybe there exists some way that you could create your own like ethno-states and it really wouldn't be a big deal, and if you
it's
go
not
acquire the
theoretical.
land legally and whatever, like that's fine. But
do you have a really big problem with
creating a
Japan?
lot.
Like, Japan's an ethno-state.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
you know what I mean? Like, we already have.
Kind of do.
I
kind of do.
Right? Okay.
I mean, I have like friends that have gone to Japan, and like, there's kind of like a lot of racism in Japan.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I'm not really cool with that. Like, that kind of sucks. Like, that's sort of a, if I could snap my fingers and have racism gone from the society today, I don't think that it would. It's not
make
like
the world
I asked.
a worse place, right?
I don't think that it would make it an ethno-state. I don't think that it would take every single person in the world and put them in their own ethno-state.
Right, but see, the issue here, right?
Understanding humans.
The issue here, right, is that you believe that you have a right to your own body. You have a right to your own will and the expression.
I believe
of
that
your
I have a
body
right to my own body, but I believe that that I want to force you to associate with other people. So in other words, I don't think that I have a right to my own body because
Right.
the state is forcing me to associate with other people that I don't necessarily want to associate with.
Exactly.
Okay. I don't think that the government needs to tell you that you should associate with people that don't look like you. I think that that's just an objective moral good, is to associate with people that don't look like you, that have different, thoughts and ideas than you. Because if you only fuck with people that look like you, talk like you, say the same things as you, you never grow.
Right.
And and I would say objectively, even for a whole society, we would not have the societal and technological advances that we have today if we lived in a world that was just 100 ethno-states. We just wouldn't.
So
because
first of all,
grown and grown and grown
we
as a
wouldn't live.
society
We wouldn't live in a world that has 100 ethno states, right? Because the problem is like if we want to take this from a consequentialist perspective, right? Because this is what you're doing. You're justifying from a consequentialist perspective because morally you have a moral intuition that racism, right, and stopping people from living their lives, from being able to have freedom of movement from one place to another, right, due to their skin color, you have a moral intuition that that's wrong, right? And I understand that where that's coming from.
No,
right?
I'm even saying that I think it basically is proven based if you just look at the world. The world has organized itself in a way so far that has been, I would say, the most natural and like the best so far. It's the best.
Hear me out. Far. So
okay.
When you stated, well, I don't think we'd live in a world where we'd have like where 100 ethno states would be great. See, here's the thing: is that I don't think the economics there don't really make sense, right? So let me give you an example of freedom of association. Let us say, for example, that we repeal the aspects of the Civil Rights Act that stop businesses and the free market from discrimination, not the aspects that stop the government or the state from doing it, right? So just tomorrow, there's a bill that says people can discriminate in terms of their business freely with whomever they want. They can choose not to hire women, men. They can choose not to serve certain customers, etc. Right? Bake all the straight-only cakes you want, right? So let's say we live in that world tomorrow, and you go downtown, and all of a sudden, your favorite sandwich shop has a sign up that says "whites only," no blacks allowed, or maybe if it's even worse, it just says "no N-word." Right? Let's make it real rough. Well, let's actually let's make it less rough. Just whites only. Whites only sandwich shop. Are you going to shop there?
No, I understand. This is the Ayn Randian economics part of me. It's like, well, I just wouldn't associate myself with people that are fucked up.
Right. And if you were a black person, right, that let's assume now you're a black person. Are you going to shop there? Well, obviously you can't.
No, obviously
right?
not. Well,
right.
Yeah.
But also, it was your favorite sandwich shop. Aren't you happier now knowing that sandwich shop has probably been spitting in your food this whole time, and that they don't like you, and that they hate your people, and that they advocate against you? We're better off people being free.
You know what's even better society? If we just didn't have a whites only sandwich shop.
Except
so like what we need
they
to do
exist.
is we should
People are racist.
I know that of course, but why are they racist? Like this is one of the things that once again we're just going to completely disagree on, I think, because this is one of the reasons why I like MrGirl is because I personally think that I have the ability to at least attempt to empathize with like pretty much anybody, even if they're really disgusting of character. Because I think for me, it's really beneficial to get a better outlook on life and to like hear what these people have to say.
Right.
But then also at the same time, like I feel a moral obligation to try and right that ship as well.
Well, no,
you know,
but see here the problem is, right, is that you want to force the sandwich shop, right, to not be racist. Except you can't force thoughts to not exist. So instead, what you do is you force them to just pretend that they're not racist.
What I would do is I would
to increase racial tensions.
I would create a society and a law that doesn't make it so that people can be racist actively.
Right.
Why are we
therefore you have
racism
now created a law that is against the right of self-ownership and of the body.
Correct.
So you don't believe that.
It. Okay, I guess not. But I thought we already agreed on that. I'm sorry.
Right. So
I agree with it to an extent. I mean, to an extent.
Well, you can't agree to it to an extent. It's an axiom.
Okay,
Either you agree with it or you don't.
Right.
So if you don't agree with it, then do you believe in rights? Do you believe that rights exist?
I think that rights are more like objectively, yeah, I think that there are like morals and ethics and stuff that exist that we should all hold ourselves to. I don't think they're given by the state. You know what I mean? I think they're objective.
All right. So you believe that there are objective rights, but you don't believe that one of those objective rights is the right of self-ownership.
I think that one of the rights,
or freedom of the individual.
I think that I should have the right to be able to like walk the street and not get like fucked over. I think that I have the right that I should be able to walk anywhere on this earth and not get fucked with.
But if you're a racist and walking to the street is walking to your sandwich shop, you don't believe in that right.
So what I'm trying to say, exactly. So in my perfect world, I guess, like my ideal thing is that I should be able to go anywhere and no one should be allowed to like fuck with me or like say no, honestly. Unless there, I guess, are more, you know, there needs to be a better legitimate reason than you hate black people.
Right. So here's the problem. Here's the problem is, I know we're going down in the rabbit hole, and now I'm grilling you, but like it's just an interesting conversation. The problem is how do you justify those rights? Where do those rights come from? Because you said you believe they exist objectively. Now I have a justification, argumentation ethics, right? I think proves that I have a right of self-ownership. And then I can axiomatically bring those rights from self-ownership. But you don't believe in the right of self-ownership. You believe in the right of freedom of movement and the right to not have violence used against you in your will. And my question is, where do you derive those quote unquote objective rights from?
Sure. Before I answer that quickly, and I will answer it, I promise, I would just say that I think maybe my issue is that as objective as I try to be, I do technically see everything on a scale, and that naturally is not super objective. So like, I just see that like, if we could like control copy Earth and paste it, and like in one Earth we were able to do an experiment where like we did what you said, we allowed people to create the sandwich shop that says we don't want black people here. And then in the other world, we didn't, right? We just made it so that everybody had to be able to freely associate with each other. I think that first, or the Earth where everybody freely is able to associate with each other and is forcibly made to freely associate with each other, would ultimately lead to better things for that world.
Yeah, so
like
it's a consequentialist.
Yeah, exactly. Consequentialist. There you go, for sure. I'm a consequentialist, and you're not.
Well, of course I'm not.
Exactly.
Right? You also can't be objective or Randian as a consequentialist. See, what I would say is this is the very problem with consequentialism is that you have to make a leap of faith. You just told 100%. Me that you have a religion of anti-racism is what you just described to me, because you have a religiously held belief. Because what we're engaging with is crystal ball scenario of probability. See, I believe the exact opposite. I believe if I had to guess, right, that freedom of association and freedom from coercion from the state would allow for a more prosperous economic situation, that people would be more free, that because people would be more free, that we would have less racists, because it would be economically non-feasible, that they would actually be flushed out into the open, and that freedom of association would allow people to splinter off into groups that allow for a more multicultural society, and that they would be more open to people because that would be the most economically feasible thing for them, and that is the greatest and quickest path to end racism.
I would hope so. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds pretty based, you know? I
mean, but you use probabilistic consequentialism to reach that conclusion. And I would say that you're engaging in a crystal ball scenario because you don't know.
I am. I agree. I mean, like, you know, where do you derive these things? To answer it, like, where do I derive these things? I would say kind of like Aristotelian worldview. I think that these morals and ethics exist in the universe, and it's kind of our job as humans to do the best that we can to try to access these objective morals that exist in the universe. And it's kind of like, well, you know, it's our job as people on Earth, while we're here, you know, as rational thinkers, to try and suss out those things as best as possible. And I think that one of the things that we've sussed out, I think pretty efficiently, is that multicultural societies are just better and stronger.
It's not multicultural.
Than
because you're destroying culture.
Melting pot societies where we take multiple cultures and we kind of like combine them, and we sort of take the best from some cultures and the worst from other cultures, and we kind of mix match. And, you know, even though maybe we don't like each other all the time and we fucking fight sometimes, and we get the occasional racist here and the occasional lefty blue-haired complete moron over here. That's I think that is a society that leads to better outcomes than one where we allow people to disassociate from other people simply because they don't like the color of their skin. And I think that's probably where I'll leave that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're brave, maybe you can argue in the Discord with some people about it. I'm sure they'd be happy. I'm sure there's plenty of objectivists that would love to take you to task. If you're brave, I'll leave it at that as well.
I'm down. I'm down. I'm always.
So we really
always
didn't get to
up for
talk much about Twitch's toxicity, right? Did you still want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm down. I still got a little bit of time. I think my chick's gonna get home from the gym in like an hour or so, or a little
Okay.
less. So
His
when
chick.
she gets back,
Did you hear that? Did you hear that bigotry and sexism, chat?
I know. Someone
His
said that
chick.
to me at work. Someone legitimately said that to me at my work when I said that, and I looked at them and I was like, "Wait, are you being serious right now? Like, is that like something you're not allowed to say?"
That's old school.
And they're like,
"Well, that's old school
you
feminism.
could say something more appropriate."
That's second
I'm
wave
like-
feminism."
I'm like, my girl likes to be called my chick. She likes it.
So, wellspring intensifies. All right, so where did you want to go in this Twitch toxicity thing?
So let's talk about Twitch meta and then Twitch toxicity. So
Yeah.
I've been noticed. So first of all, I'm a fan. First off, I always like to joke when I talk with people like you. Like I was on Heem's stream, I was like, I'm just a fan that kind of tricked my way onto your show. You know what I mean? To come talk to you. So I've been on Twitch poll for about a year and a half, kind of just observing. I've been on it like actively kind of participating for maybe like 6 months or so. And I've noticed some things now that I've gotten into it. One thing that I've noticed that I find very interesting is I thought there were a lot more people watching Twitch poll, and by Twitch poll I want to include YouTube too. Okay, so the people
yeah,
that are
it's fine,
watching
it's
the VODs on YouTube. So Twitch poll.
For sure.
I thought that we maybe were and this is my ignorance before I started streaming. Maybe there was like an audience of like 1 million people that were watching Twitch poll.
No,
Okay.
it's like an audience of like 50,000.
Okay, exactly, dude. So I start getting into Twitch poll, and I start realizing that it's like we're all fighting over the same group of 50,000 watchers. And it's like, it goes a little, and I don't even count Hassan in that, because if you count Hassan, that's another 40 added onto it.
Yeah,
But,
Hassan doesn't really engage with Twitch poll anymore. Once you get to a certain level, you begin to realize that you have to decouple, and you have to you have to go into a larger, more entertainment-based system and away from the Twitch politics sphere in order to really gain the larger audience. Bosch did this to a
100%.
certain extent. Hassan did it massively, right? But you see plenty of Twitch politics people. Like, there's this guy I follow, Papa Gut, right? Averages like 100 to 200 viewers, right? Does a lot of gaming, plays some World of Warcraft, and talks some politics as well.
That's pretty respectable viewership.
Right?
I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
200's a lot.
Right? Now, I was like, oh, I've never seen this guy before, right? I found him. I was like, this is so cool. Oh, thanks to the 5 gifted subs, Emperor Doomsday. I appreciate it. Pushing us over the goal of, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
God bless.
I could have muted myself. Sorry for the YouTube viewers.
No, God bless. Okay.
Yeah, so what I noticed is I went to his Twitter and I was like, let me follow his Twitter, because I just got Twitter 2 months ago. I fucking hate Twitter, and I'm really good at it. And I hate that I'm good at it too, because it's a fucking demon of a fucking like influencing toxicity thing, right?
That's good for sure.
But at the same point, it was like, if I'm gonna grow, I gotta go on Twitter.
True.
And
Exactly.
so I find him on Twitter, and he's like, people should like do like, I don't know, like a panel or something where people talk about politics and like can have open debates. And I was like, my guy, what are you talking about? Twitch politics does this all the time. And I realized, oh wow, this is a gaming streamer that talks about politics that doesn't even know about Twitch politics sphere existing.
So
like he doesn't even know of our existence. That's how fucking small it is.
I'm friends with someone who's kind of a big streamer, like 17,000-ish, viewers each day,
Name dropping over here.
Not name dropping, but like, it's interesting when I talk to him, he's like, what do you mean? Like, I name characters like in our community that I think are big ass motherfucking like,
Right.
And no one knows. No one gives a shit. Like, it's very interesting. Like even when they did that Streamy Awards thing, right? Like, how is Twitch poll not represented? Like, I thought, like, wow, this is stupid. Twitch poll is super big on Twitch, right? Like, nah, it's nothing. It's 50,000 viewers that we're all incestuously sharing.
Yes.
And like, so what I've noticed, okay, so like I started.
I think that's
streaming...
a great point to start, because I think that is one of the biggest reasons for the toxicity of Twitch politics.
Yes. And the click making.
Yes.
And so something that I thought was interesting about MrGirl was that he like was on Destiny stream, and then he ended up stealing like a chunk of his viewers. I mean, a pretty decent chunk, and it's almost like that's like the story of Destiny. Like, if I'm not mistaken, Destiny originally was almost like a 20 or 30,000 viewer streamer, and then slowly Hassan.
Well, he made
Vosh,
Hassan, and
Mike
then
from PA.
Hassan steals
Like-
half of his viewers, and then he made Vosh and steals half of his viewers. MrGirl, and he steals a chunk of his viewers. Right. So what I think is what I've noticed, right, is that Twitch politics, for the most part, is a primarily left-wing audience, right? And what has happened is that they're all sharing the same 50,000. I don't know how many it is. We're just going to go with 50,000 as a guess. It could be 15, 20,000. It could be
I legit though.
150,000.
I think it's not though. Legit. I think it's like 50 grand.
I think so too, but like we don't have the numbers
Yeah.
to back it up. So I just want to make that clear, right? That when we say
Okay,
50,000 from here on out, we're going off of our guesstimate, right?
The
So-
most accurate guess, let's say though. I want to be charitable. Like really though, we're very incestuous over here. That's kind of the main point I'm trying to get at.
That's
like,
what the
it's
term.
really
That's
scary.
the term in guesstimate. It's like it's an estimation, but it's kind of there's some guesswork in there.
I'm sorry,
so-
I'm getting stoned over here. All right.
It's all
my
right.
bad.
It's all right, brother. So we're sharing this audience, right? And what I noticed is two things about my community and my audience is that I probably stole a couple viewers from Critically Thinking Veteran, and I stole maybe like 1 or 2 viewers from Destiny, and I stole like 1 or 2 viewers from some anarchist channels that were, consider themselves culturally more right wing, but were anarchist, and were like, and then they found the ANCAP and they were like, holy shit, this is the kind of anarchism I'm about. Like, not this other shit, all these crazy fucking commies, right? And so I've done that, but for the most part, I have all 3 of them, yeah, right, stole. But I just mean like they were regular viewers of them. I provided something that they wanted, and so now they're regular viewers of mine. But for the most part, what I have found is like homeless people and people randomly and just chatting that have become part of my community, and like most of my community doesn't exist in a lot of the other Twitch. They don't watch anybody else, or they do watch the panels or something, right? But for the most part, they watch me. And it's a weird thing when somebody tells you like, oh, I watch you for news. And I'm like, wait, pause. What? I've been doing this for a year. You're watching me for news? Fucking why? I'm a dumbass nobody. But what I noticed is that the lefties were all sharing the same viewers. And so what they have done to try and gain money and gain views is they engage in drama, and they engage in something that I like to coin, a phrase I'm coining, hopefully it catches off, cancel clicks. It's not really cancel culture, right? It's more like we're not really trying to cancel the other person, right? What we're really trying to do is we're kind of teasing at the idea that we're canceling someone because of this horrible thing that they did and attacking another streamer, right? And they'll start drama on Twitter, and then they'll debate the drama, and they'll talk about the drama on stream, and then they'll try and get the clicks and the views from the drama, and then they'll argue about it, and they'll and all of a sudden this is the big
boring.
drama, and then
Holy
like
shit, is
then
it
they'll do a
boring.
panel about the drama, then they'll settle the drama, and then the cycle repeats. And what I think is happening is 2 things. It's an easy, 3 things. 1, it's an easy way to get a lot of clicks and views and a lot of money in the short term. But 2,
May I ask you a quick question?
Go ahead.
A lot of money. What do you consider like a lot of money in a Twitch poll kind of way? What's a lot of money?
okay, a lot of money to me is being able to go to the bar, order any drink that you want, and not think about your bank account.
Okay, so you think that when you're saying that they're engaging in like a click,
They're not millionaires, right? They're not millionaires.
No.
But they're making
you're
a living.
engaging in like cancel clicks stream. Are you saying maybe you're making like $200 out of it? I'm curious if like there's an actual number. Like,
I see like everyone has different views, right? Like attractive women are going to get more subs than non-attractive women, right? Per their viewer count. You can kind of see that, right? Like attractive women tend to make a little bit more money for the views that they're getting, right? Like if you see a dude with 200 views and a hot girl with 200 views, the hot girl is going to have somewhere between 50% to 200% more subs in her stream than the regular dude, right? But I mean, that just, and I think there's that, right? Then also there's the fact that there are, I don't want to say this because it's such a shitty thing to say, especially when they're watching right now. But there's a term in the video game industry with mobile gaming known as whales, right?
yeah, no, I understand.
Right, which is you make a video game that's free to play that everybody can play, and then you give a little bit of extra something to people if they're willing to pay money. And there are some people that have a lot of disposable income that are supporting a majority of what's going on, right? So it's like you have the occasional person. It's like, you know what? I will sub to you because I want your emotes, right? And then you have some people that are like, I really like the content. I have a decent amount of money. Here's 5 gifted subs. Here's 10 gifted subs. Here's 20 gifted subs, right?
Holy fuck.
What's going on?
My homie just gave me 5 fucking gifted subs as you said that. Holy shit.
There you go.
Okay, anyway, sorry. Thank you, Drumsy, appreciate you.
There you go. So, exactly, right? You got, there's a fucking whale right there. He knew what he was, and he was like, let me do my goddamn job. All right? I'm kidding. No insult. But that's just how it is, right? And there's some value given to people that do that. Recognition, right? Feeling good, you know, and in very anti-Randian way, some altruism, right? You know, knowing that somebody has to do it if you want to keep seeing the content, because if nobody does it, then eventually this person has to quit Twitch and go get a real job. You know, et cetera, et cetera. But regardless, getting away from that, what I'm seeing is that there's this incestuous relationship that everyone shares the thing. And I would say, like, I want to say maybe 50% is the lowest estimate I can give of the entire Twitch politics are people that are and I actually, as much as I think that she has a lot of vapid dumb takes, this is a Stardust point. Twitch politics is like reality TV for men, right? And I think she's kind of right? And so like a good half of the audience are people that are just looking for whoever has the juiciest drama.
So what I'm curious though is so something that I've been noticing, right, is that as Twitch has been banning more streamers,
the number has gone down.
No, it's not only that, but
people have gotten more toxic.
It's not even that. What I'm trying to get at is more like, I think that this is anecdotal, but it's like I've matured. Like a year and a half ago when I first started watching Twitch Poll, like my favorite things were to watch like the Vosh debates, like the dunks, you know? And then I kind of got onto like, you know, watching the Dylan Burns panels, and you know, it's kind of like, I think this style of discourse has really kind of like run its course. Mm-hmm. It's not very interesting.
Nope.
We kind of just see the same people over and over and over again. We've figured out that, guess what, guys? We don't really have any influence at all, because it's just the same 50,000 people watching us every day that are just watching us for the drama.
Well, it's worse than that. It's worse than that, right? Because it also isolates our community. Because I'll give you an example.
What do you mean by our community? Do you mean the Twitch community or the individual ones?
I'll explain via narrative, via like story, right? So we're ANCAPs here, right? Now, we are the largest ANCAP streamer in Twitch politics. But there are other ANCAPs that are associated with Young Ripa, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, Young Ripa has never raided us. Do I blame him? Not at all. In no way, shape, or form. But he's raided a lot of other smaller streamers. Well, why is that? It's like, did I piss him off? I don't think so. I might have, right? What is far more likely is I'm in Twitch politics. And the people that know about Twitch politics know it as a toxic place where everyone that associates with them gets canceled, right? And like, it's all bullshit. And so in what way would it be in Young Ripa's interest to raid me with 100 viewers, despite me being the second largest anarcho-capitalist streamer on the platform, unless there's some other person that's an ANCAP that keeps their politics to themselves, or I'm missing somebody, because there are a lot of streamers, right? Despite being the second largest with that radical ideology, like, why would he raid me? Is it because he's worried I'll steal his views? Probably not. He's a YouTuber. He doesn't really give a fuck about his Twitch views as much as just likes to have fun and play Mario Kart with geeks and gamers from time to time, right? And then do his YouTube shit where he's got like he's just under 500,000 subs, right? So, and he plays music and he does all his own shit, right? Like, he doesn't give a fuck if he loses 10 viewers because they choose to watch me, right? He's not making a lot of money or content on that. He's just hanging out playing games. But I'm in Twitch Paul. And I guarantee you, if I had to guess what pissed him off, it might be because I called out Tom Woods, to be fair. But it's probably, well, this is another story, but it's probably because we're in Twitch Paul. And because Twitch Paul is known for being a toxic fucking place where people fucking do drama farming and where people like fucking attack each other, and where people like engage in what I said, cancel clicks, where they're constantly trying to cancel people, but they're not really trying to cancel. They're just trying to farm drama and clicks. And so I think it isolates our community and it makes it difficult. Like Twitch politics is holding Dylan Burns back. If Dylan Burns wasn't in Twitch politics, he could talk to people like MrGirl and XQC and Asmongold. Maybe not immediately, but he's somebody that when he does an event gets 2,000 views. He could easily talk to somebody that's a 10,000 viewer, Andy, and start associating with those and like doing some cool shit. Maybe not. He could easily, if he wasn't in Twitch politics,
he could probably have the only reason he probably couldn't, because the only reason why he's famous is because of Twitch poll.
Maybe.
Well, like, I love Dylan Burns, and I like to say that I didn't fall down the alt-right pipeline. I fell down the Dylan Burns pipeline. I mean, I found you through Dylan Burns. I found, you know, I'm telling, in my personal opinion as a viewer, the panels have gone downhill by a lot. Yeah. In my opinion, when I first used to start watching them, they were very diverse. Every week was usually a vastly different topic. Dude, last month, I thought I heard the same topic on Hippy Dippy like literally 4 times. Like, and it was really tiring me out. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's because the conservatives. I think
you know?
I think the share of Twitch politics has gone down enough to where the conservatives don't have a chance anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just not really intelligent conversation, because for me personally, and I might be in the minority here, but I like to...
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt because this is an entertainment platform. Someone says Dylan Burns hole sounds kinky. That one caught my eye and I was like, I gotta say that. That's hilarious.
But yeah, I fell down the Dylan Burns hole. And... you know, and it's led me to, you know, a lot of people that I've had, you know, even off-stream conversations I think are really cool. Like Heem, I think he's you know, really nice guy. You know, Kevin Castley, he's a really interesting character to talk to. You know, like
I think I hate both of those people, but
yeah,
that is
I know.
what it is.
I believe you. What about Aircraft Sparky? What's your opinion on him? You know, like
Aircraft
that's what I'm
Sparky.
saying. You know.
Aircraft Sparky,
I know.
I love you, but you are fucking wild and you need to stop. That's how I feel about Aircraft Sparky.
I know. He's a very interesting look, and you know, he has some views that I just completely 100 million% disagree with, like polar opposite. But like, the thing is that this is my big argument for why I think we should all get together and chit chat and try to depolarize the environments, and why creating ethnostates wouldn't really do that. Is because like there were people that were like, hey Will, I'm gonna like unfollow you on Twitter if you talk to this guy, or like I think that if you talk to this guy you're gonna look like an idiot, and like, you know, like I think this guy's evil. People are sending me this shit on Twitter on DM.
Oh yeah, well people love to hate me. Partially I think it's because
that's shitty, you know? No, I am gonna have a conversation with this guy, and I am gonna see what he's about, and even if I disagree with him, we'll all be better off for it at the end, because
I agree with that sentiment, and I think that that's a good sentiment to have, especially, you know, if you're trying to grow your audience, right? Like, you know, cross-pollination of audiences. I'll get the fuck out of here.
No, really. I mean, I don't have an audience. I mean, I got 10 people watching. I'm doing this, you know, for me. You know.
Fair enough, but I think the thing is too is that the panels are a whole nother interesting thing, right? Because, like I described earlier, panels are where people are their most bombastic. I wouldn't say they're necessarily their most toxic.
It's the WWE.
Yeah. But also I've been on panels that were really good. Right? And
100%.
And like those panels don't get the same views. And it's unfortunate.
Okay. Well,
like,
I would say I agree with you, but also like just me, I've literally almost watched like every Hippy Dippy for the past year and a half. Like, dude, they've gone downhill like big time. If you put on a spreadsheet and just put like the topic list of every topic for the past year and a half, like the topics have gone down and the people participating in the conversations has gone down. Like, I really see a really just steep decline in the quality of the conversation. You know?
Well, I think some of that just to be fair, in the last couple months has been is because Dylan's just in fucking Poland now, in Ukraine, right? So he's like trusting Danabo and Mr. Geek, mostly Danabo, to like put it together. And so I think Danabo, and this isn't to like take a shot at Danabo and be like, Danabo, you're such a piece of shit. You host, you do bad. Like what I mean to say is like, if your team is kind of focused on separate tasks, you know what I mean? Like one of them has got to take a back seat, right?
Yeah.
So I think some of that might, just be that like, Dylan's focused on a lot of other things right now. And honestly, this new kind of thing that Hippy Dippy is doing is something I appreciate, which is where they're taking 3 panel discussions and kind of tying them all together, right?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's a better way to do it.
I agree. Yeah, it flows better.
It flows better, and it allows for people that like felt like they weren't able to get a full argument out in one topic to like re-illustrate or rehash it in another way. But it does make it even more disorganized in a way, which is unfortunate. Because then it's like,
and this is selfish, but purely just as a viewer, I just want better conversations. Like objectively, I feel like it's all like what's really weird is that when I want to go watch a really engaging conversation with different characters, and like, and I said character, funnily enough, right? About from earlier. But, engaging with each other with different viewpoints. Like, I go to Stardust's panels now, for the most part. Because I think that she's, as much of it's kind of like a drama thing, too. She does have the widest range of people on her panels,
Yeah, well, the thing is Twitch Paul, like, I'm the most radical right-winger they'll put on a Hippy Dippy. And I'm a fucking ANCAP.
Feel that?
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, because I happen to be what one might classify as right wing, but like, I'm not even like there's no like ethno-nat that's going to be on Hippy Dippy, right? Like there's no like Groiper that's going to be on Hippy Dippy. There's like,
that's a shame.
The range of ideas. Yeah, like, but at the same time,
I want to hear a Groiper talk so that I know that they're stupid.
But like, put a Groiper next to Matty Cakes, and what you're gonna have is a screaming match the entire time that gets nowhere.
Yeah, but like I really enjoyed Kai being on the Stardust thing the past couple times because, in my opinion, like whenever I hear that guy talk, like it just proves to me how much dumber these guys' like ideology is and how they don't really have an ideology. But I wouldn't get that if they weren't on their chit-chatting.
Yeah, I agree, Casimir. I do think that the panels at this point have become so left-wing in the space that most of the right-wingers are patsies. Like, I never hear like a good right-winger. And I'm not trying to be a dick, like, but I'm just being honest. Like,
yeah, it's for memes. Like even when
Ranger and Rogue is pretty good, right? I'll give him that. But other than him, I can't really think of like a solid right winger that's like well grounded in their philosophy and like really knows their shit that goes on those panels. But then again, can I say that about the left? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being an asshole because like I expect more.
No. Their philosophy's bad a lot of the time.
Right. It's like I never hear like a right winger that like knows the fucking Bible back and forth, right? And like is like deeply committed to it, but like can also make arguments against from an empirical position that'll like spit out 3 fucking studies about like why people that go to church are like happier in general satisfaction with life survey and more likely to donate and like, like more likely to like this and like why social capital and like media is like bowling alone. Like you need to read this because social capital is like an issue and like this hedonistic society that fractures people. Like you never hear like a right winger like go hard anymore. It's just like it's drunk idiots.
Yes.
That are fun to beat up on. And it's getting boring because every panel is like 2 fucking commies, 2 fucking like lib doc democratic socialist doc sems or whatever, right? And then like one sock dems. I don't know why that was like getting away from me, but like
dem socks, man.
Right, like and then like one enlightened centrist that's really just a fucking neoliberal, and then like me. And then everyone yells at me. And then it's just
and
like,
that's why I like Kevin Castley, because he is usually your replacement. He's usually the one that has to fight everybody on the panel.
Well, that's because I legitimately have a hard time believing Kevin Castley's sincere.
Like his takes are very strange.
He is a massive war hawk neoliberal
I know.
SJW.
It's very interesting. It's just very interesting to me. Like, how do you hold all these ideas at the same time? Like, but yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, no, chat. Like, I recognize that like these people exist in the YouTube sphere, but like they're not going to show up to the Twitch Paul space. They don't need them. They don't want to be there.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Someone I really enjoy, who I was like, whoa, they're on the panel this week, was Mythic Politics. I was like, yo, because I watch.
Where
his
did
stuff
he come
all the time.
from? He's
like a conspiracy theory guy. Like, he's really cool. His stream's awesome.
I saw him,
theories.
and like, dude, I watched Mythic Politics' stream for a second, and I was like, all right, this is interesting. But I was like, where the fuck did this guy come from? He's been on the stream. He's been on Twitch for like 6 months, and is like a 100 viewer Andy. I'm just like, yeah, god damn it, I wish I was a lefty.
No, I believe it or not, I don't. With all due respect to him, he is left. He's left, but his stream is about a lot of side content that's not political shit.
Right.
Like, that's kind of the other thing. Is like, if you only do politics, I mean, I could go to
his aesthetic's pretty good too.
That's super
He's aesthetic.
Good.
He reminds me of Dr. Disrespect.
Yeah, a little bit. I vibe. Yeah, exactly. The thing that Casimir just said about him being a fish out of water. Like,
yeah, well, I debated him on a panel one time, and it was just like, wow, this commie really doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah, because that's not really his his usual.
Yeah, and then I found out that he was mostly watching like unsolved mysteries and like fucking like talking about oil wrestling and shit. And I was like, oh, this guy's an entertainer. He just happens to do some politics.
Like, my claim to fame has been just interviewing Twitch politics streamers and seeing what their shit's about. But like, I'm also doing a gang stalk. Do you know what gang stalking is, by any chance?
I do.
Oh, I'm making a documentary called The Gang Stalking Phenomenon. So that's kind of my big piece of content that I'm trying to make.
Are you gonna be like, is it just gonna be gang stalking as a whole, or are you gonna try to focus on, like, as an example, like how Scientology does it, and like calling people
it is
squirrels?
going to be. So the main premise of it is, first of all, I'm really centering it around r/gang stalking on Reddit and how toxic and terrible that place is. But it's basically
Reddit toxic. No, I have no idea what this is, but I know Reddit's toxic.
R/gang stalking is basically a subreddit where people who are most likely suffering from paranoid schizophrenia get together to reinforce their paranoid schizophrenia together. And rule number 3 on the subreddit is you're not allowed to suggest mental health to people. So, in other words, it's a giant.
That might be a problem.
Might be a problem. And then
why? Why?
Because these people are targeted individuals. They think they're being targeted by a government conspiracy. Yada. Anyways, I didn't mean to get into it like this. I just want to say, like, I think that more streamers should go the route of something a la like a MrGirl, in the way that they should have like kind of like an arc, like a content arc, and then build up to making an original piece of content. And I think that as a viewer, that would be so much more interesting to watch than,
well, I mean,
hey, hippy dippy, let's debate for 4 hours, and it's not really a debate.
While we were there, right? Like Saturday, we're gonna be doing our first. Make sure you sign up after the stream. We're gonna put it in Discord. We're gonna start our Dungeons and Dragons. Bringing that back. Every one Saturday a month using Tailspire. We've been working with Tailspire. It's pretty good, but. We try and do that in Philosophy Night and, some late night gaming. But for the most part, the thing that pisses me off about the whole Twitch politics people is like, I feel like I do politics, right? And what I mean by that is like, I do a 7-hour stream, but the 3 or 4 hours before stream, it's not that fucking hard. I find some shit to react to. I find what everybody's talking about. I'm perusing Twitter and I'm perusing like ground news and find out what the big news stories are. And then I usually find something, right? And then I usually find something that everybody's talking about and nobody's digging into. And then I go, okay, let's look at the documents. Let's look at their financial records. Let's look at the LinkedIn profiles to the people that support this. Let's look at the 501c3 that donated a majority of the money, and let's find out if taxpayer money's coming from this. And then what do? Talk about the news stories. Then I have a story that I'm doing that nobody else is doing, that has information that nobody else has, right? And then I do some reaction content and talk about some philosophy, and then we watch some wild shit at night or play some video games or fuck off. And like, it doesn't seem that difficult to me to do that, right? Like, it doesn't seem like that's really that hard of a thing to do. And I see all these people with like triple-digit views bitching about somebody on Twitter. And I'm just like, how does the audience find this entertaining at this point? Like it baffles me. I just sit here and I'm like, am I beating my head against a fucking wall trying to provide content? 1 year.
So I think, believe it, because, like I'm watching your live stream right now. So I do social media shit for a living. So I'm very into like analytics and shit like that. Like I noticed that you have a very strongly consistent stream. Like while maybe you don't get the most viewers, you are consistently getting a decent viewership. Would you say that that's fairly
Aristocracy?
accurate?
I'm not talking about you. What's up, Aristocracy? Yeah, no, I would say that my viewership is
like you've built a tribe, is what I'm trying to say.
Most of my viewers only tangentially occasionally watch other streamers.
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to get at. Is sort of like the thing about Twitch poll is we're all incestuously sharing these like 50,000 people, right?
And I'm not really to the most part. I only share that when I do debate panels.
The people who I think are ultimately going to like outlive this space and kind of become people of any merit, like to the actual like greater world, I think, are going to be people that like differentiate their content. Kind of like the way that you're doing, like what MrGirl's doing. I would say like Destiny, like he has his own tribe of people that he has.
DGGers, right?
The DGGers, exactly. And you've got the people in your like little Discord, and these are your people. And then MrGirl's Discord, he's very much built his little tribe. And I think the thing is that people need to get better on Twitch, I guess, of creating content that would create, I guess, like some kind of element of like being a part of a tribe.
I mean, speaking of Aristocracy showing up in the chat, right? Like she does.
Oh yeah, she original ass content 24/7.
Right.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like she dips her foot into the Twitch politics, but for the most part, she's doing her history streams.
God bless.
And like she has her community that is surrounded around a consistent level of content. But like, so like the thing that I've noticed too is that while other people in the Twitch space won't talk to us sometimes because we're associated with Twitch Paul, the fact that we have been able to keep our own audience and cultivate our audience in a way that is consistent with our ideas and our principles, I think even though our success in terms of viewership and money is lower than a lot of these other people, I think keeping to our principles and maintaining those has also led to other types of success. Like we've interviewed Walter Block, we've interviewed Tho Bishop, we've interviewed Jeremy Kaufman, LP senatorial candidate for New Hampshire and CEO of library.com. And I think we're in a trajectory where we're going to be able to, if we continue this, like we have some name drops and some other people working behind the scenes for bigger names. And I think that not being that toxic drama streamer kind of gives us something that I won't say trust, but like, why would someone serious show up for an interview to somebody that half of their content is like trying to cancel people and doing drama?
Yeah.
And so hopefully if we keep on this grind and we keep that slow, steady growth and we keep getting names like that, we'll be able to do something a little bit different. I don't know.
And I think
That's
you
my
will.
hope.
I think you will.
So in summation, I keep my principles and I say, fuck MrGirl. I don't want to talk to him. Mostly because I don't need the views. I don't need the views and the clicks, and I don't want to associate with this person.
Totally fair.
Aristocracy, in my opinion, this world is just like the music world. Who becomes successful depends on who you know and some luck. It's very rarely about quality. My lowest quality streams plus videos are always the most successful. Yeah, I mean, when we interviewed Jeremy Kaufman, right? CEO library.com, on the board of the Free State Project, LP candidate for Senate in New Hampshire, and very, very well known in libertarian spaces. One of our worst streams viewership wise. I think it averaged like 26 people.
I'm a music producer, and what I find is funny is I'll give a rapper like 10 or 20 beats. They'll pick the 3 beats I hate the most out of the 20 I gave them. Why? It always happens that way. Like, it's subjective, right? I mean, you never really know what they're gonna like,
At the same time, I think Aristocracy and as well, I think it depends on what your target audience is too. You know what I mean? Like if you consistently do things like that, you eventually gain the respect of an audience and a community that gathers around that type of content.
Yeah, exactly. That's the social media strategy idea of building a tribe. And just you find that when people who do social media campaigns, they build tribes around their product or media or whatever, like it's so strong. And then when you move to different platforms, you know, you retain that tribe because they follow you, they want you.
Yeah, I mean,
and I
so
think
like
on Twitch, like people don't do that because a lot of people get banned from Twitch and then they ended up not doing anything on YouTube and then they're like completely fucked. It's like for all new Twitch streamers out there, like get on the YouTube grind, like diversify your shit ASAP.
well, the problem with YouTube
No.
for us is we're ANCAPs. We'll never do anything on YouTube. The algorithm hates anarcho-capitalism.
Interesting.
Let me put it to you this way. Biggest YouTuber that I can think of that does actual ANCAP content, there's two. There's Anglo Libertarian, who I think has like, was it like less than 20? I can't remember. Is it like 12,000 or something subscribers? And then there's Praxbin with 2K subscribers. And then everything else. But I'll give you an even better example. 6K or so? Okay. I'll give you an even better example. Young Ripa 59 is an anarcho-capitalist. Okay? He has videos where he talks about anarcho-capitalism. They have like 5,000 views.
Okay.
He has 500,000 subscribers.
Very, very. That means the algorithm criminally didn't put it. It actively did not put it in front of people.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like
okay.
So if we do, if we try and build anarcho-capitalist content on YouTube, let me put it to you this way. I have a YouTube channel, right? On that YouTube channel, we have tons of anarcho-capitalist content. We have some philosophy readings. We have like interviews and debates we've done, right, from an ANCAP perspective. All of them are somewhere between like 50 and like 400, 500 views, right? We have less than 500 subscribers. I have 2 videos, okay, that break that. The first is a video that was like one of the first videos I did, right? And it's, do transgender people have narcissistic personality disorder?
Oh,
that
great.
video has 1.2K views. I have another one titled The Myth of Racial Homogeneity, Part 1, The Melungeons. That has almost 5,000 views. YouTube is an algorithm game based off of what the algorithm wants. So it's like, I think that's like YouTube just sucks for us. It's just like not going to be a place where, unless we change the type of content we do.
I guess what I wonder is there's some element to the YouTube algorithm that's like it can detect if there are like a large enough audience of people like searching for things. And then it can kind of tailor, you know, like you'll end up figuring out that, oh, well, it turns out that like this group of people is always getting, you know, shown these types of videos. Like, do you wonder if maybe, I guess what I'm asking is, do you think that they're purposefully making it so that your videos aren't being seen? Or do you think that maybe there's such a small ANCAP audience on YouTube?
I think there is censorship for sure, right? Without a doubt, there's censorship on YouTube. Anybody that says that that's not political censorship, you're full of shit. But
I don't mean it like that.
But Young Ripa is a perfect example. He has ANCAP videos that have like 5,000 views, right? And then he has other videos that are extremely successful where he's doing right-wing culture talks about like Disney and like comic books. Because that's what people want to hear, right? That's what people are searching for. That's what people are looking for. And also their algorithm is based off of like, used to be based off of click-through rate, right? And now it's mostly based off of watch time. And I think a lot of people will find something tangential, like an ANCAP video, and then they start hearing ANCAPs like actually talk about their ideas, and they're like, holy shit, this is not what I wanted. And then the algorithm's like, oh, well, this is a bad video. But I don't think they don't know how to market to that niche of an audience. So it's not widely something most people do. So they'll suggest it to a couple people. They'll be right-wingers. They'll click on it, and then they'll hear me say something like, you know, police officers are all oath breakers, and like we should totally get rid of policing in the judicial system in lieu of community policing and private police forces. And like thin blue line gets triggered and they're like, fuck this guy, I'm out. He was interesting at first, but like this is terrible. And then YouTube's like, oh, people don't like your video.
Fair.
Oh no, aristocracy says I got a good idea for a video for you. Oh, all right, hit me with it, aristocracy. How about this? How about fucking DM'd you and we set up a fucking interview. Analyze Rust from an ANCAP perspective. Oh my God. You in the Rust obsession. Fucking, I DM'd you on Discord, I think. Or maybe that was someone else. Hit me up and we'll talk. We'll set a date.
Maybe one last thing we could talk about, because I'm gonna go in about 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, you don't want to still be on here when your girl shows up.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, your chick.
Yeah, my chick. Get it fucking straight. Let me see. I think what we should talk about perhaps is what I think is the inevitable demise of Twitch politics. I personally think that Twitch poll, and when I say Twitch poll, I'm talking about us, once again, not Hassan. I think that eventually we're all going to be pretty much driven off of this platform. And I also mean the viewers too. If we want to see conversations of any value and of people of different opposing views. Because I just keep looking at the Twitch landscape, at least like the bigger streamers on Twitch, I feel like are all basically just carbon copies of themselves. And then we basically just amplify the amount of snarkiness that they have on their channel, and then that's, there you go, another leftoid streamer. And yeah, it's pretty boring. And I see all my favorite right-wingers are getting banned from the platform, moving on to YouTube. And then you can't Twitch stream with people who are banned. So like Stardust has a lot of her best panels not even on on Twitch, in my opinion. I watch them on YouTube. So yeah. I think Twitch politics is pretty much done, in my opinion. Like, if you really want to go and like have an exceptionally good, nuanced conversation with people that you don't agree with all the time, I think we're going to have to move to another platform, because I think Twitch wants to keep building on the thing that they have right now, which is basically an audience for kids. I think that Twitch's main audience, just objectively, is kids.
Well,
and
see,
I think
there's...
Well, the thing is that we're growing out. Like, I think that a lot of us as viewers, we're growing out of it. Okay? When I was I don't know, I wasn't a kid, but I was 2 years dumber when I got into Twitch poll, It's like I've matured out of Twitch poll. And Twitch has decided that they don't want Twitch poll to be any more like adult than what it is right now. And if I want to get an adult conversation, I need to go to another platform, and I think that sucks, and I think that's going to kill Twitch. What's your opinion on that?
I think that Twitch can solve this problem almost instantaneously with one decision that is inevitable, and so I disagree. Because I think once targeted advertisements finally come to Twitch, which I think is inevitable if Twitch wants to make the money it needs to make.
Can you define that?
Targeted ad,
like
when you watch people on Twitch, right? It doesn't matter who you are, you get the same fucking ads, right? Okay. And so because you're getting the same fucking ads, what you have is you have tension between the people that are purchasing ads and the form of content that they're placed in front of, right? Whereas if you look at YouTube not only has targeted advertisements, but YouTube also has a much smarter algorithm for its ads, right? If you click one video and you get an ad, and then you go right to another video, you won't get an ad, right? Also, YouTube has ads that are skippable very quickly, so people are less annoyed by them. Also, YouTube has a situation where all of your content is paused when you watch an ad, right? So you're not missing content because you saw an ad, whereas on Twitch, you're missing content. So I think...
Oh god, that was what Aristocracy was getting shit on the other... Well, who was getting shit on for suggesting... It was Valkyrie. Valkyrie was suggesting that the ads should just go off to the side, so you're not interrupting the content. I think what's due for Twitch, overdue, and is likely to occur because it's fucking owned by Amazon now, right? And they're already getting in like, hey guys, you're not making enough money. Twitch partner contracts, this 70% of Twitch subs needs to go. Like, it's 50% time, right? Same rate as affiliates, right? So I think what's likely to happen is an entirely revamped ad system, right? And when that occurs, I think Twitch politics, or political Twitch streamers, I should say, will be in a much healthier space, because I think Twitch's moderation will be less heavy-handed on political streamers when brands such as like Omen and like HP and Microsoft are not associated with political streamers. The type of people that watch streams and the type of stream that you're watching will be associated with
content that is less worried about being tied to that. Because I mean,
but in one way that makes me kind of scared. That makes me kind of scared that maybe that will mean that they have to sanitize the Twitch content even harder, maybe. You know?
I think that they're already doing that because of the fact that they don't have targeted ads.
Interesting. So you think that I understand, is the premise, just because I'm stupid and maybe I don't understand, is it because like if we do targeted ads on Twitch, then let's say you're into more adult content, right? We can target you with ads that are more for adults.
So like,
and then let's say
think of it like this.
Minecraft
Think of it like
content,
this.
then,
I can guarantee you without knowing, just like I can guarantee that if I pick up something in my house, it's made from China. Like I'm made in China. I don't know that it's made in China, but like I'm right. You know what I mean? Like if I pick up something, it was made in China, right? What I'm saying is Microsoft definitely has people in their marketing department that are like, yeah, we're not paying that much money for this, and we don't like that this product that we're selling is associated with transphobia. Right? And so Microsoft is going to put pressure on Twitch to be better about going against what they consider to be transphobic things because they don't want it associated with their product. But the moment that they have targeted ads, they can just have companies that don't give a fuck, like Red Bull, for example, who doesn't give a fuck, be doing ads in things that are categorized as politics. You know what I'm saying? So like there will be less pressure from advertisers to like sanitize the content on the platform as a whole.
Interesting.
Because there's targeted ads.
I got you. Like because I'm ignorant, I'm legitimately asking. Like, so is that like what happened with YouTube? Like when they had targeted ads, that increased the
that was part of the first adpocalypse was because brands were angry about what their content was associated with. And as YouTube got better about targeted ads and about making sure certain brands weren't tied to certain themes and categories of videos that were, problematic, all of a sudden they didn't have to worry about that because they would be like, well, I don't want my shit doing associated with that. It's like, well, your ads aren't even being targeted to anybody that's doing politics. Your ads are being targeted to like kids playing Minecraft and like unbox reviews, right? Like, so like you really don't have anything to worry about there.
Okay, cool. I'm red pilled on this idea. Okay, well shit, I hope that happens. That's very optimistic. I really hope
I just don't
happens.
see Amazon not doing it inevitably.
Like, I'll be honest, I love Twitch. I think Twitch is a better platform for streaming than YouTube.
Oh God.
I'm totally okay with the the Twitch to YouTube pipeline the way it currently exists, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just scared that my favorite streamers are banned, like the streamers that I watch on a more regular basis are banned from this platform, which really sucks.
Yeah, no, it's like, well, that's the other thing too. It's like Twitch needs to do something about like this idea that like you get banned and now you can't go on a panel. Like it kills.
But that only affects Twitch poll. That only affects Twitch poll for the most part. Like,
except, well, I mean, no, it doesn't just affect Twitch poll because when they banned Dr. Disrespect, like half of the reason that, oh God, what's the bald guy that recently took a gaming contract? The huge FPS shooter guy. Oh my God, I can't think of his name, but he couldn't play with Dr. Disrespect anymore, right? Oh. And that hurt his audience and that hurt his channel and like that hurt him, right? So he eventually ended up, part of the reason was to spend more time with his family, et cetera, but part of the reason he took a fucking a YouTube contract, exclusivity deal, was so that he could fucking stream with Dr. Disrespect again. So that's not,
stream with the homie.
Right, it's like, it's not just Twitch politics that's affected by this policy, right? It's other streamers that get banned, right? And then they used to do streams together. They can't, and they're like, well, you can if you just go to YouTube Gaming. And it's like, well, fuck it. I've got 100,000 followers. Let me do the occasional stream with him on YouTube. They do well because they have so many followers that the algorithm will suggest it, unlike fucking small streamers that start on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
There's no discoverability on YouTube. And so what Twitch has become get fame when it comes to live streaming.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Right. Like when it comes to live streaming, there's no discoverability. Like people have to actively go to live streaming first, like unless it's somebody huge that they already are subscribed to, right? And like to find a live stream. So
you're right.
So what ends up happening is people get famous on Twitch or semi-famous on Twitch, get banned, and then go to YouTube and bring their audience with them. They'll start on YouTube just to get banned, on Twitch just to get banned, and then it's like, what happens to Twitch is that they create somebody who gets semi-famous and then leaves the platform and pulls their viewers off of their platform. It's the dumbest fucking thing ever. YouTube is bad in general, to be honest. Yeah, that's facts.
I disagree. Hard disagree.
Well, in terms of live streaming.
I subscribe. Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, you gotta be monetized to get emotes.
Oh, yeah.
The chat function sucks. The ability, like you're looking at my stream right now, right?
Yes.
This shit right here is super easy to do with the channel point system.
So that one there was a violation.
You know, like, the integration of different things and different streaming things is so much better on Twitch.
The only thing I was disagreeing with where he said just my front page is trash. I'm like, if you're starting on the front page, that's where you're wrong. Like, I always just go straight to the subscribe panel and then I go through my, my daily.
I would also like to someone played a different way with channel points, but like I would also like to point out that, like, if your front page is trash, part of that is what you're watching.
True. They know what you want.
Right. Well, it's the same thing with TikTok and YouTube Shorts. When people used to tell me, they're like, all I ever get is like teenagers doing dances in like short shorts. And it's like, motherfucker, my brother in Christ, that's what you watch. That's why they keep sending that to you. Like, my YouTube Shorts is like funny videos and dudes cooking steak. Like, it's like, because mine that's what I like.
Right, is dudes cooking steak and other dudes drifting in race cars. That's
right. I don't get any racing stuff in there. You know why? Because the moment I see a race car, I'm like, not interested. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
I mean, they know. They tracking your motherfucking eyes while you looking up and down that screen. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. All right, buddy.
All right,
Scott.
It was an interesting conversation, even though most of it was about fucking MrGirl. But it is what it is. I had to address it.
It's all good. I just want to say thank you for addressing it. I appreciate it. I think probably people that watch. I told MrGirl's Discord that I was going to come on here and discuss it, and
I'm sure they were super stoked.
They were. MrGirl's Discord is the best Discord I've ever been on. It is really one of the very few places I feel like I can confidently go on and have a really intelligent conversation.
I disagree. Mine's better.
Well, I need to lurk on yours a little bit more.
Evil is evil.
I'm kidding. We got some trolls.
I have to choose between one evil.
It's every community.
Another.
Yeah, for sure.
So
sorry, we didn't hear you.
Yeah, I keep forgetting I have to hit Alt. Well, on Mondays I always forget.
What's up? Did you say something?
He forgot that he has to hit Alt for push to talk.
Oh.
Yeah, because otherwise we're in the same room, so one of us has to be on push to talk, and he talks more than I do, so
What the?
Yeah, we're in the same room.
I should have realized that. That's the same couch.
It's the same couch, yeah. And it's the same sign in the back. Same shirts.
Thought it was a parallel dimension. Okay.
No. Well, it's nice having you.
We went to the same IKEA.
Oh, fair. Yeah. You guys have a lovely rest of your night, okay?
Hey, you too. Have a good night with your chick.
I will. Peace.
Peace. You just watched a clip from our Twitch channel, Fabian Liberty. If you like content like this, please like and subscribe here on YouTube, or go ahead and give us a follow on twitch.tv/Fabian Liberty.